Phoenix Knights. Chapter 840, Master. Chapter 840, Master. Proofreader Papatonks. Knowing the result, Xiao Yunshan was ready to get some distance since any choice Xuefan made would give him this chance. He would get away from the brat, and then use the huge sword energy to gain the upper hand. Xuefan's savage right hand once again came into play, out of his expectations. The guy was determined to block the sword while having a weird grin on his face. Xiao Yunshan was uneasy, watching as the sword energy and the right hand made contact. The attack went through Xuefan, tearing him to pieces and then to nothing. Xiao Yunshan rushed to move away, looking puzzled. What's going on here? His punch should block my heaven-reaching sword, so why didn't it now? He was destroyed in a second. Did he use up all his energy? Xiao Yunshan looked around to see the audience was overjoyed. High Venerable is amazing! He killed the kid in an instant. That's our Heaven Trailing Sect's guardian. As long as High Venerable is around, Heaven Trailing Sect fears no one. High Venerable has grown again, a blessing for our sect, ha ha ha. And Xiaoyun bobbed his head in total agreement. It felt off how Xuefan got done in just now, but it also made sense in a way. The first time Xuefan blocked High Venerable's attack, he had time to prepare and inspect it. Even so, it was still tough. But now, High Venerable having unleashed the same destructive attack so close, Xuefan had a lapse in attention that proved to be fatal. Death would come from just one strike in a battle of experts. Xiao Yunshan was in total disagreement. Having witnessed Xue's calm and weird smile, he knew for a fact that wasn't a suicidal one. Xiao Yunshan felt uneasy when he recalled it, and his feeling only grew stronger. High Venerable is amazing! Sir has earned the greatest merit in fighting off the enemy attack. Please receive my and all our elders' respect. Barely getting on his feet, Ren Xiaoyun looked grave, giving Xiao Yunshan a deep bow, with the rest following after him giving an annoyed wave. Xiao Yunshan was feeling restless. Whoosh! A sharp cry came from behind, followed by an icy bloodthirst. Startled, he looked back to see a pitch-black blade in his face. Caught by surprise, Xiao Yunshan worked on instinct, raising 2 fingers to stab with Yuan Qi. The fingers flew before Xiao Yunshan, seeing Xuefan's weird grin in front of him. Xiao Yunshan, you got soft. Xiao Yunshan's brow shook, feeling pain from below. What he saw made him sigh. He had ended up just like the other soul harmony experts, cut in two. The black sword had cut through his belly and his soul. Double Dragon Manor's divine weapon, vaulting sword! Xiao Yunshan had blood coming from his mouth, yet he looked quite calm. Xuefan nodded. You're going about what killed you when you're already dead? Ha ha ha, of course, since the heaven-reaching sword was gleaned while training in Double Dragon Manor. I had the chance to stand 100 meters from this divine weapon and sense its aura. While I don't know its current aura, I can tell it from its appearance. Xiao Yunshan smiled. My skill can block any spiritual weapon for some time, with just this divine weapon able to cut it. Xuefan said. Your power and heart are high, and I wouldn't have one if not for trickery. You're no ordinary soul harmony expert. I didn't want to kill you either, but you're shielding Heaven Trailing Sect and have killed my master. I could never let you go. Ha ha ha, I know that as well. Xiao Yunshan smiled. I shouldn't fight you as you're my old friend's disciple. But with your strength and coming to destroy my sect, I had to do it to avoid its demise. We each have our reason to kill the other, just that you came out on top and I lost. That's all there is to it. Though I'm curious about one thing, what just happened? Sensing he was close to the end, Xuefan humored him. I have a lot of great skills and one of them is capable of setting up a space and creating an illusion. What you have cut was just my illusion while I hid in that space. I waited for you to be consumed by this strange event and struck when your guard was down. I see, so there's a strange skill like that in the world. Xiao Yunshan looked white, looking at Xuefan through a haze. Such a skill had never been seen in Western lands. I'm sure that the whole world hasn't one user, especially that old man. Although he said you're his disciple, who is your true master? Xuefan pondered his hopeful gaze. Elder Yuan is my master in Tao that I respect and admire, while the master that passed on his skills to me is someone else. He is a reclusive expert. I don't know if he's dead or alive, But I'm sure he's very strong, stronger than anyone in these lands, already in the Genesis stage. Everything is nothing more than an ant to him. He's better than the Central Area's invincible sword. Invincible? Humph, only an ignorant fool would call himself that. Zhua Fan mocked. Even when that master can flick him to death, he still won't proclaim himself invincible. Xiao Yushan shook and sighed. This is fate. With such a strong master, why did we even go to offend you? Even if you die, your master would come for revenge. Western lands wouldn't be able to stop him, and the sect would perish. I had given my all and have no regrets. Old man, I lost to your disciple. You should rest now. Spewing blood, Xiao Yunshan's eyes lost their light as he fell. High Venerable. The elders below were shocked. Their protector, High Venerable, was dead. Everyone was by themselves with fear as they watched the lone figure in the air. How could they let Siewu's twisted words entice them and bring about such calamity? Zhua Fan looked coldly at the body on the ground and sighed. None of them wanted to fight, but their position made it impossible to avoid a clash. Life is so frustrating. After this frustration, what he loved the most was sending these bastards to hell. Zhua Fan's eyes shone and turned on Ren Xuyan's group with a twisted smile. The victims shook in terror. A month later, Blackwind Mountain was packed with people, as well as 3 new familiar faces. Chu Qingqing, Yilin and Wu Qingqiu. Luo Yuhai saw that everyone was here and began. People, everyone should be familiar with Edifice Lord Chu. She now represents Double Dragon Manor and has come to investigate the recent sect destructions. The other 2 are Ultimate Clarity Sect senior brothers Wu Qingqiu and Yilin. Everyone bowed in respect and caution. None from Superior 3 sects could be offended, especially from Double Dragon Manor. There's no need for courtesy. We only came to ask some questions. Just think of us as guests. Wu Qingqiu was quite respectful. After our investigation of the Demon Scheming Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect, we found not a soul alive, yet also no traces. The more people there are, the more clues there should be. While the less there are, the more powerful they had to be. As we have nothing to go on as of now, we could only ask the help of the greatest faction closest to the 2 sects, the Luo Alliance. Everyone jerked. Are you suspecting us? The sudden outburst got everyone to turn to Yilin. Ha ha ha, sorry, but have some self-respect. None of us are fools here. You're the last suspects if you ever were, especially with your strength. Yilin mocked, earning angry glares. We may be weaker than you, but are you looking down on us by voicing it? Chu Qingqing mediated. Sorry everyone, he's always so rude. Don't mind him. We only came to understand something. Who knows where Zhua Fan's master is? Chapter 841, Special Background. Chapter 841, Special Background. Proofreader Papatonks. Steward was master? Everyone present was taken aback. Then they started talking amongst themselves in hushed tones. The members present here were all from the Tianyu Empire, and many from the former 7 noble houses. Yet all here, once foe or friend, looked into Zhua Fan with no results. Chu Qingqing's sudden question had them thinking again. With Zhua Fan's capacity for power and shrewdness, just where's his master? That's what we'd like to know too. Edifice Lord Chu, you're asking the wrong person. All of us are in the dark as well. Steward Zhua came from the Luo clan, so you're better off asking them. An elder of ex-Sword Marquis abode pointed to Luo Yuhai on his main seat. The others bobbed their heads. Yeah, you should be asking the Luo clan. Steward Zhua is theirs. If they don't know, no one does. Luo Yuhai shrugged. People, Brother Zhua might have come from the Luo clan, but not even we know how he got all those skills. I believe that all of you, having roamed Tianyu for decades, are far wiser and capable of getting some hints into his background. You think we'd have lost to you so badly if we'd known already? Rolling their eyes, the people from Hell Valley, Pill King Hall and many others twisted their heads away in annoyance. Wu Qingqiu's team frowned. Did Zhua Fan just pop out of a rock or something? There were so many powers in Tianyu, yet none figured out his master? Luo Yuhai shook his head and cupped his hands. Sorry, senior brother Wu. Brother Zhua had grown up in the Luo clan just like any ordinary person. Only after the Luo clan was facing disaster did Brother Zhuo reveal his talents. Not once had he ever remotely mentioned anything about his master either, so we didn't press the issue either. Even though you came a long way to check on his background, I'm sorry to say that not even we know. How can that be? Wu Qingqiu was stumped. Chu Qingqing looked disappointed, hoping to get a trace of Zhuofan through them, that maybe. We didn't get anything. Yulin was calm as a cucumber, though he was smart not to show it, only displaying a vague smile. Zhuofan's master was among the greatest in sacred domain, and the oldest. It was obvious they were clueless. This secret was privy to a very few sacred beasts and himself, a sacred beast inheritor. Others would ever know such a heavy secret, not like they deserve it, humph. Yulin dangled one leg over the other, looking quite smug. The grasp of secrets embodies the gap between people, ha ha ha. Just as the investigation hit a dead end, an aged voice said, Last Chu-Chu, why exactly are you looking into Zhuofan anyway? Are you perhaps suspecting that the fall of the three sects have something to do with him? Chu Qingqing looked back at the group with hope. The one to call her that had to be an elder close to her from years back. Uncle Jiao. Chu Qingqing turned to Elder Jiao from the X-Veiled Dragon Pavilion, God I Long Jiao. He was the first senior involved with Zhuofan and Tianyu. The two grew so close they became brothers. God I Long Jiao had to know something about Zhuofan. Chu Qingqing bowed in joy. Uncle Jiao, how have you been all these years? God I Long Jiao smiled. Ha ha ha, still kicking, though aggrieved having heard of Brother Shua's passing. If only I had the strength, I would have. Long Jiao's eye flashed with bloodthirst. Chu Qingqing clenched her fists. Yeah, they don't have the power, or they'd have long destroyed the demon scheming sect. Wu Qingqiu sighed at the sudden shift in mood, also saddened. As a member of the investigation team, he didn't come to incite revenge though. So he bowed. Junior sister Qingqing sees Sir as Uncle Jiao, so I'll be presumptuous to call Sir that as well, despite my inadequacies. Oh, there's no need for that, young Master Wu. Long Jiao returned the bow. Wu Qingqiu was nice and very polite without any arrogance. He was still a disciple from a superior three sect, not to mention in the ethereal stage. Long Jiao would never take advantage and presume himself his elder. Wu Qingqiu smiled. Uncle Jiao is too kind. It's only natural to treat seniors as such. Moreover, I also notice Sir has been referring to Zhuofan as brother. I would be very grateful if Uncle Jiao would be willing to answer some questions. Young Master Wu, please ask away. Long Jiao bowed as Wu Qingqiu did. Wu Qingqiu nodded. Uncle Jiao, to be quite honest, we suspect the culprit in the destruction of the three sects to have come from outside our lands, or someone taking revenge for what happened to Zhuofan a year ago. Thus I ask for everyone's help, in telling us if Zhuofan had been close to anyone in Tianyu besides you all. As far as I know, his skills did not come from the demon scheming sect, so where could they come from? Are you implying that his master took revenge? Long Jiao cried out. The others jumped, perking their ears to not miss a thing. It has to be. To train an abomination like Zhuofan, the power achieving this must be a force to be reckoned with. They had begun to have an inkling just how great his background was. It was not like just any average power could just ruin three sects in western lands overnight. The ones to rejoice the most were the X-houses. Thank God Zhuofan won in the fight for Tianyu. If he lost at our hands, then Tianyu would have been plunged into hell. When it destroyed the demon scheming sect, of western lands 9 sects, ruining Tianyu would have been child's play if they thought about it, so that's why he was so obnoxious. I always felt it off. His backing explains it. Demon scheming sect never figured it out, so that's why they're now 6 feet under. That's what you get for messing with someone stronger than you, thinking you're better. So easy when you have no clue who's behind him. Everyone sighed. Only Long Jiao pondered. Brothers was master, well, he did mention it once, though I'm not sure if it was real or not. Really, who? Wu Qingqiu lit up. Long Jiao was grave. Overlord 9 Serenities. Ugh. Wu Qingqiu's group was stunned. Overlord 9 Serenities. Is there someone like that in western lands? Yulin almost did a spit take. Is that a reference to 9 Serenities sovereign? Elder brother, Are you toying with these yokels for not knowing about the 10 sovereigns? Everyone around looked perplexed. Uncle Gio, Overlord 9 Serenities does sound great, but I'm ashamed to say I've never heard of him. Who is he? Where does he come from? Wu Qingqiu asked. Long Gio shook his head. I don't know. He just dropped that full of smiles, so I always thought it was a joke. Now that you're asking about his master, it feels like it might be true. Overlord 9 Serenities. Wu Qingqiu's eyes shone. Who is he? No one in the entire world with any amount of name to himself or power knows such a person. Do any of you know? Wu Qingqiu turned to the rest, only to see them stumped. Wu Qingqiu frowned. He came to know more about Shuafan and got a clue, only to have more questions left unanswered. Overlord 9 Serenities, what the hell is that anyway? Sounds as grand as the best in the central area, invincible sword, but never heard of him. Yilin played dumb while his senior brother was getting nowhere. Why don't you go ask Devil Mountain? A girl spoke. Wu Qingqiu's team turned to Lei Yuding, Luo clan's Shadow Corps captain. Lei Yuding continued. When the Luo clan was stationed in Blackwind Mountain, Zhuafan took me to set up the arrays around it. I overheard him say something about creating a second Devil Mountain here. Maybe that's where his master is. Wu Qingqiu had found a direction at long last, though his hopeful look was met with equally lost gazes. Wu Qingqiu's face twitched. No point asking about Devil Mountain then. Where the hell is that even? The more we dig, the more secretive Zhuafan's background is. All I got for my questions are more questions. Where should they go next? Wu Qingqiu sighed. Brother Zhua, did you really pop out of thin air? Why can't we find anything about you? Chapter 842, Overlord 9 Serenities. Chapter 842, Overlord 9 Serenities. Proofreader Papatonks. With his hair billowing in the wind, a tall and bright man stood on a tall peak, looking free and easy. This made the deep sigh that came after from this eminent middle-aged man as he watched the sky uncharacteristic whoosh. 3 people suddenly landed in front of him and bowed. Elder Du! Have you learned anything from your investigation in Tianyu? Elder Du looked at them and asked. Is the destruction of the beast-taming sect, demon-scheming sect and mystical heaven sect related to Zhuafan? Or did someone else have a hand in it? The trio shook their heads with a sigh. Elder Du was confused. Was that a tough question? If Zhuafan has a strong force behind him, we'd continue our investigation in this direction. If not, that leaves our revenge and we can focus on the powers coming into Western lands. This may very well be the first time Western lands has been assaulted and requires the Exalted's full attention in looking into the 3 areas. Once again, people are suffering. Elder Du gave a bemoaning sigh while the trio hung their heads with heavy looks. Elder Du was curious. What's wrong with you? Just what did you find? Elder Du, we have found something about Zhuafan's background, although... Wu Qingqiu hesitated. Luo clan, his home in Tianyu, has now gathered many clans and formed the Luo Alliance. Their growth is swift, beyond anything a small nation could become. It's steadily heading towards becoming a top empire. Elder Du cut him off impatiently. I know of Luo Alliance. No matter how fast it grows, it's nowhere near capable of destroying even the weakest sect of Western lands, especially not without some noise. Only an absolute power can pull it off. They, are way behind. They may have the motive, but since they lack the power, they've been ruled out. Now, is there any other power? Well, there might possibly be just one. The trio exchanged looks and Wu Qingqiu hesitated. Elder Du found it strange. Wu Qingqiu, you're always calm and collected about everything, so why are you dawdling? Speak up, what did you find? Elder Du, have you heard of Devil Mountain or Overlord 9 Serenities? Wu Qingqiu probed. Elder Du asked. Where is that supposed to be? Who's Overlord 9 Serenities? I just knew Sir hadn't heard of them either. You think I know every damn name in the vast Western lands? You think I have time to learn some nobody's name? Elder Du huffed. Wu Qingqiu sighed. If only he were a nobody. The master of Double Dragon Gathering's best disciple, Zhuafan, is Overlord 9 Serenities from Devil Mountain. Being the master of the future best in Western lands can't be said to be a nobody in some way. You're saying he taught Xuefan? Elder Du turned solemn. Since Xuefan had always been showing remarkable and bizarre skills, some of the likes Western lands has never seen, then the master has to be just as monstrous. But the name and location? Elder Du frowned, while the trio waited for him to come up with a response as he was racking his brain. An elder and 3 familiar figures came over. Yan Mo, Wen Tao and Xia Tianshang Double Dragon Manor had formed 3 investigation teams. Chu Qingqing's went to Tianyu to look into Xuefan's Avenger, while Yan Mo's checked out beast taming sect's side. In Qianrong the beast taming sect was the only one unrelated to Xuefan. If the investigation in Tianyu reached a dead end, at least over there could offer some clues, but by the looks of them, it was plain to see nothing came of it. For God's sake! What kind of ridiculous power did the attackers on the beast-taming sect have? It's too crafty. There's not a trace left in the beast-taming sect, with the entire Qianrong being clueless as well. The imperial capital had lost a large part of imperial members overnight, yet none was the wiser. This definitely stinks. The fat elder shook his head while whining about his lack of results. Chu Qingqing bowed. Greetings, Elder O. It's fine. Ugh, so damn annoying. Elder O waved her off while still whining. Yan Mo's side. What a waste of time, the culprit left not one damn thing behind, none. I'm really starting to think a Western lands outsider did this. Wu Qingqiu frowned. Besides outside influence, the only viable suspect would be Xuefan's Avenger, though his investigation had hit a snag. Alas, they had let the clues slip right through their fingers. Xuefan had wiped beast-taming sect and demon-scheming sect from this world, down to the last soul, while none saw him, though he did leave a trail in Qianrong's imperial capital. They just had to look closer, and they'd have caught a glimpse of Xuefan's ghost appearing among mortals, though the Qianrong emperor censored anything related to him in the imperial capital right after he didn't fear Xuefan being found out, but that the destruction of the beast-taming sect had something to do with his clan, earning the ire of beast-taming sect's elders. It was best keeping a scandal in the family. Or they might even be overthrown if word got out they were involved. Qianrong Emperor covered for Xuefan, but more for his scandal, since there was common interest with all of Qianrong tight-lipped. Yan Mo's team had no success. Old Du, what are you mumbling about? Can't I even get a hello? Elder O saw Elder Du pensive and found it odd. Elder Du said, Old O, ever heard of Devil Mountain or an expert calling himself Overlord 9 Serenities in all your years roaming the Western lands? Where did you hear that taunting title? Elder O asked. Anyone calling himself Overlord 9 Serenities is asking for it. He'd be thrashed the minute one was foolish enough to utter it. Only that invincible sword dares call himself like that. Though no one in all the lands could beat him. This Overlord 9 Serenities sounds just about the same. But that would mean peak Genesis stage. Elder Du shook his head. Right? If Overlord 9 Serenities is so powerful, he'll be a calamity upon Western lands. We can't go looking into this case any longer. We best stay far away from it instead. Who is Overlord 9 Serenities anyway? Did you piss him off? Seeing Elder Du so helpless, Elder O asked. Elder Du was vague. I know not how he looks or his cultivation, so how could I piss him off? Demon scheming sect and the rest probably did, though, to earn their destruction. They say he's Xuefan's master. What? Elder O cried out. You're telling me that his master destroyed sects out of revenge for his disciple? Just who is Overlord 9 Serenities? How strong is he? I don't recall any in Western, the whole world bearing that title. Elder Du sighed. I know that, but to call himself such, he can't be a pushover. You said it yourself? To use such a taunting title, he had to be able to back it up. What's most important is that he's Xuefan's master. With the disciple such a monster, what would that make the master? This clears things up. Elder O spoke firmly. This is a classic case of revenge by annihilating sections. Demon scheming sect and mystical heaven sect are done for, which means the next is heaven trailing sect. Everyone cried out. But heaven trailing sect isn't the lower 3 sect like the others. It has a dozen soul harmony experts, and the renowned heaven-trailing sword with his heaven-reaching sword protecting it. Taking it out will be harder. Elder Du analyzed. The others nodded, with Elder O looking tense. However, if that Overlord 9 Serenities is in Genesis stage as we surmised. Elder Du's heart sank and his face was hard. Shui Rohawa's team, led by her elder, rushed over, shouting, "This is bad! We went to check Heaven Trailing Sect only to find that the entire sect is destroyed just like the others." What? Chapter 843, Dragon Breath Pills Power. Chapter 843, Dragon Breath Pills Power. Proofreader Papatonks. Whoosh. With the breaking news of Heaven Trailing Sect's destruction, the three teams now trailed the sunny skies at full speed to reach Universal Righteous Sect. Old Du, if Overlord 9 Serenities wants revenge, then the next target is definitely the Universal Righteous Sect, Elder O said as the two flew shoulder to shoulder. Elder Du nodded with a frown. Wu Qingqiu spoke up at this point. Universal Righteous Sect is a Superior 3 sect, with many Genesis stage cultivators, not like the previous two categories. I just can't see how it's possible for it to end up the same as the others. Child, you're too young, having yet to witness true experts. Elder O sighed. You must have heard by now of Dan Qingshan trampling on the 10 sections. Did you think he wasn't strong enough to destroy one, even a Superior 3 sect? Humph, it was Western Lands rules that stopped him. He's part of Western Lands after all. But this Overlord 9 Serenities is ready to kill down to the last soul to take revenge for his disciple. Coupled with Dan Qingshan's strength, then a puny Universal Righteous Sect stands no chance at all. In front of true and ultimate power, a sect is nothing more than a house of cards, left to be stomped under his foot at his whim. Elder O's eyes flashed with a deep look, fearful of such display of raw force. Wu Qingqiu shuddered and nodded. Yen Mo mocked. Elder O, since he's so mighty, with even a Superior 3 sect worthless, won't that makes us small fries? No. As we represent Double Dragon Manor, someone with the authority to move all of Western Lands' forces. Elder Du's eyes flashed. As long as he's not dead set on it, we can leverage our names to talk it out. Not just anyone is willing to become a public enemy of the entire Western Lands. Not even Dan Qingshan of old. And if he is dead set on revenge? Well, Yenemo asked, to which Elder Du sighed. Then it'll be a second invincible sword. Invincible sword? Yes, going by his rumored strength, he alone has the capacity to fight an area's entire force. Elder Du spoke heavily. Only with the alliance made up of the other 4 areas could we stop his advance. However, now he has reached peak Genesis stage, from which he can't advance an inch. If there was a stage beyond Genesis stage, he'd have achieved it with his talent, becoming the undisputed strongest man in the world. His invincible title is warranted. The others grew tense at the revelation. Yilin's eyes flickered with the flames of battle. The only reason Invincible Sword was stuck at that level was because the mortal domain had a limit imposed on it. Though how did he train to reach such great power then? I wonder who'd win if I'd reached Genesis stage. A sacred beast inheritor or a mere human? The thirst for battle thrummed in Yilin's heart, surging like a volcano. Look, we're almost at the Universal Righteous Sect. Elder Du pointed in the distance, at a verdant forest. Let's hurry up. Boom! An explosion of fire like no other erupted and drowned his words. The golden inferno rose beyond the clouds, like it had swallowed the heavens. The heatwave came next. Slamming into them like a hammer, the 3 elders cried out, "Protect the disciples!" The elders unleashed their Yuan Qi, and with the world's power, they formed a shield in front. It proved to be of no use, as a shockwave came and blew it to pieces. It attacked the elders and forced them to spew blood, before sending them flying. The next were the disciples, faring no better, spilling blood from their mouths and falling unconscious. An hour had to pass for them to come to. But what they were seeing was nothing. Their tiny minds could prepare them of the devastation for thousands upon thousands of miles. Not a blade of grass grew. Any sign to indicate a lush and verdant forest once grew here was now gone, replaced by ashes and burning soot. Elder Du spat blood once more. What the hell is this? Why is there's nothing left? We must have arrived just as the explosion happened. But for even we, in the Genesis stage, to suffer such heavy wounds, I can only dread what power it has at its epicenter. Elder O got up on shaky legs, his words waking everyone up, right. The universal righteous sect was just there. Then, looking ahead, all they saw were golden flames billowing higher and higher. Its searing heat burning on their skin, so strong it evaporated the blood they just spilled. It worked on their bodies as well, baking them alive and drying them up in just 15 minutes. Chu Qingqing found this view eerily familiar. Her eyes filled with tears as she muttered, "Si Zhuofan." "What?" The elders jerked. "Qingqing, what are you saying?" Chu Qingqing sobbed. "On the day of Zhuofan's death, the same inferno happened, spreading for 500 miles, taking even his body. This fire may be much stronger, but I'll never forget such flames." The elders looked at each other in realization. "Junior brother, this fire feels similar to yours." Wu Qingqiu asked Yilin, rolling his eyes. Yilin huffed. "Senior brother, are you mocking me? This is far more powerful and concentrated. If I had this in the Double Dragon Gathering, I wouldn't have lost." "Really?" Wu Qingqiu eyed him, still suspicious Yilin was faking it on purpose. Of all the natural golden flames in the world, he knew only one that held such unbridled power. Decimating dragon ancestors, decimating golden flame. As to how it ended up here, he was positive Zhuofan got a dragon breath pill from the dragon ancestor. Elder brother, what a waste of a dragon breath pill to use it here. He knew the dragon breath pill Zhuofan got was a sacred beast's strongest attack. That thing he used was a mere toy. Throwing such a dragon breath pill around the mortal domain was like burning ants. An utter waste. Yilin sighed inside. That's supposed to be used to save yourself, not get revenge. Let's see what exactly happened. The elders nodded with grave looks. They all knew the universal righteous sect had been wiped out, but an investigation still had to take place. The three elders carried their damaged bodies as they led the disciples towards the inferno. Zhuofan was walking away from the blaze in a black robe and with a smile on his face. "Ha ha ha, dragon breath pill is the best. I just poke a hole in the sect barrier then threw it in. No matter how many Genesis stage and Soul Harmony stage experts it has, they're all toast." This had to be the easiest revenge yet for Zhuofan. He didn't have to waste time and sully his eyes with their presence, just throw something in and send them to their maker, worthy of dragon ancestors' true power. Though seeing such destruction, Zhuofan found it unbearable, not remorse for anybody, but that the dragon breath pill was such a waste here. Though he used it in the end, wiping any sign of life from every corner. Humming a tune, Zhuofan walked on. But then he frowned as he looked further ahead. Someone's coming? Whether friend or foe, an away team or a fugitive, I'll know once I look. Zhuofan's right eye flashed in 6 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void's 6th stage, Void Domain. The air rippled under his power, forming a barrier. Zhuofan entered it and vanished from the world. All he left behind was a world of flames. Chapter 844, Heart's Reaction. Chapter 844, Heart's Reaction. Proofreader Papatonks. Whoosh. The blistering heat coming off the golden inferno burned anything and warped the air. Chu Qingqing and the other teams from Double Dragon Manor soon arrived, where no living being could survive. Even the Genesis stage elders were feeling the hot air burning their throats, to say nothing of the disciples. They all looked pained and panting for breath, like staying here any longer would directly sap their life. For God's sake! How can a human do this? Everywhere they looked, all they saw was golden flames and even more golden flames. Elder Du's face watched in shock. The Superior 3 sect, Universal Righteous sect, had been destroyed in a flash. Is this the power of Devil Mountain's Overlord 9 Serenities? Overlord 9 Serenities and Devil Mountain? Zhuofan, in his little hidey hole, had his heart jump at that name. How did they come to know that? Soon he figured they must have looked into Tianyu. Double Dragon Manor started investigating the destruction of Western Lands sections. Great! Pinning it all on the fake Overlord 9 Serenities should buy some time before Double Dragon Manor gets to the real answer. Who knew the little joke he pulled ages ago in Tianyu would be so useful? If Double Dragon Manor had kept investigating, they'd soon catch up to him, and that wouldn't do. While he feared no one, he wasn't looking for trouble either, and getting chased to death all the time wasn't a good thing. Obliterating 4 sects of Western lands was a heavy crime from which he could never escape. Did Overlord 9 Serenities do this? Elder O looked around in shock. There's just no way. No person could have such power. I'd bet not even the world's strongest, invincible sword could pull this off. You mean? Something stinks around here. Elder O's eyes flashed at Elder Do's words. This can't be done by just one man. There has to be another explanation we've yet to figure out. Maybe something volatile was happening beneath the Universal Righteous Sect that he made use of to do this. Why else then, of all the other sects, only the Universal Righteous Sect ended up like this? In any case, I refuse to believe that a cultivator could be so strong. His analysis earned the nods of others. Of course, if he's so powerful, what's the point of investigating anyway, since they'd end up killed all the same? If not, the whole Western lands would fall. But if it were like Elder O said, using the Earth's unstable power to create such a disaster, then he wouldn't be as strong. We could fight him. Zhuofan nodded inside. At least there's someone in the team that can use his head. Yes, there's no one in mortal domain capable of such might. As this was the strongest attack of a sacred beast from sacred domain that none in the mortal domain had ever heard of, coming to the conclusion the power of the earth was borrowed instead was not a bad logic. This, however, meant the team would keep going and affect Zhuofan in turn. Yilin was well aware, though clueless, how to ease this problem. Elder O, maybe Overlord 9 Serenities didn't do this by himself, but the entire Devil Mountain perhaps. Do you think by finding this sect, can Western lands fight it? The elders shook and grew tense. Right. A guy doesn't have the power, but if Devil Mountain was packed with experts, then anyone could resort to such cruelty. This proves their sect is stronger than Western lands. There was no point in looking further into it when they couldn't even beat it. Impossible! Elder O spoke with determination among the hesitant looks. Kid, look closely at this catastrophe. Could all the power of the world gathered together recreate it? That's why only the world's power can be the culprit, and not a man's. I still believe Overlord 9 Serenities used this method to shake us, a mere bluff. Also, we would mistake his level and drop the investigation. This only proves he hasn't that kind of power Western lands should fear. How else would you explain his secretive actions, vanishing after ruining every sect? Even as we came here, we saw no sign of anyone around, clearly done to cover his tracks. Elder O sputtered on in a loud tone, finding his logic even more sound. It even sounded smug for being so smart. The others nodded their heads. When did the old Coots melon get so sharp? Even Zhuofan had to give him credit. He might believe the old guy's logic if he hadn't done this himself, only Yilin was not about to let it go, sighing. What if going after Overlord 9 Serenities is us playing with fire? When we face him, what then? There's no what if. I don't believe anyone is almighty unless I see him for myself. Like hell, he's even more unstoppable than that invincible sword. Elder O flicked his hand, looking smug and convinced, buying into his own excuse. The others nodded, finding the logic sound and continuing the investigation. Zhuofan chuckled with a shake of his head. Having ruined 4 sects in Western lands, it was safe to say, the sooner he left here, the better. Zhuofan gave one pair of eyes, with the golden inferno reflected within, one last look, finding it hard to look away. We won't be seeing again, Ching-Ching. SSS. As thunder exploded, he saw spark lighting flashing between his hands. Startled, Zhuofan watched the thunder ring flicker to life. Chu Ching-Ching's own ring reacted the same. Zhuofan looked at the 2 rings in shock. How? This space is cut off from reality, so how are the thunder rings reacting? As this ring had been with its master for so long, it molded to his true nature. The yearning Zhuofan and Chu Ching-Ching had for each other triggered the rings, breaching the confines of this space. See, Zhuofan? Chu Ching-Ching looked at the thunder ring in shock, her eyes tearing up as she cried out and searched everywhere. Zhuofan, you're not dead! You're here, aren't you? Zhuofan ain't dead? The elders turned to her. Ching-Ching, what are you saying? How do you know that? Chu Qingqing only cried out Xuefan's name, her eyes filled with hope. She knew that only his thunder ring could connect with hers. These rings were their odes. Junior sister Qingqing, maybe you just think you saw him from how much you long for him. Xuefan is dead, so how can he be here? Yulin started. If they find elder brother, then he'll become Western Land's enemy. While shouting, he rushed to Chu Qingqing, holding her hand in the ring. Hiding its luster, Chu Qingqing only knew him and Xuefan as enemies, and that didn't change. His sudden action earned her hatred. Beat it! I know you only see Xuefan as your enemy and can't wait for him to die. But he's still alive, and he's here. Xuefan, it's me, Qingqing. Come out. Yilin shrugged, his kindness scorned. What good will it do calling him out? You're just letting Western Lands hound him. This chick has lost it, thinking my gesture was out of ill will. If only you weren't sister-in-law. Yilin gnashed his teeth. Use your souls to scan the area. The elders immediately started looking around for any signs, but all they sensed was the searing heat. The three elders shook their heads, sighing at Chu Qingqing's frantic cries. Is this how an excellent disciple fell into darkness by the loss of her husband? Chapter 845, Scared to Death. Chapter 845, Scared to Death. Proofreader Papatonks. Qingqing, don't do this. Xuefan's gone. He's not here. Chu Qingqing was frantic in her search and cried even as Shui Ruohua and Dana hugged her. Tearing up at her pain, the others shook their heads. This is called being obsessed. Chu Qingqing did not listen to reason, shaking her head and pointing at the flashing ring with joy. Senior sister, he's still alive and here too. Just look, only we have this pair of rings, and they only react when the other is around. This is his keepsake. He's definitely here. Chu Qingqing was desperate in convincing everyone of this reality, but they only saw it as her lying to herself, wanting to believe with every fiber that Xuefan was in this world. Qingqing, I may not know that ring, but we have scanned this place for 100 miles around, yet there's no one here but us. Elder Du soothed. Chu Qingqing bit her lip, not giving up. No, he's close by. It's just that you can't find him. No one can find him with his skills. Only I, as his wife, know in my being that he is here. That's enough, Chu Qingqing. Elder O shouted in anger, a vein popping on his forehead. We're Genesis stage experts, yet you're saying we can't even find some brat? We can find something as small as an ant, let alone him. Since we did not find him, then he isn't here. How long are you going to continue this crazy act? Glaring at him, Chu Qingqing still called out Xuefan's name. Xuefan, it's me, your wife. Please come to me. Don't just stand there, take her away. Elder O's patience was at an end as he stared at Wu Qingqiu bobbing his head. He went to Chu Qingqing with a sigh. Junior sister Qingqing, there's something off about the ring, I'm sure of it. Xuefan is gone now and there's no way he can be here. Let's just get you back to Double Dragon Manor and get some rest. No, the ring never lied to me. He's here. Struggling with all she had, Chu Qingqing kept crying out, Xuefan. In his sealed space, Xuefan gnashed his teeth and shut his eyes. Even though tears gathered at the corners, he knew he shouldn't have met her, because he could not take the parting. Qingqing. The heart prevailed in the end, and Xuefan spoke in a low tone. All shuddered at the heavy tone, unable to overcome their shock. Chu Qingqing was overjoyed. Xuefan, is it really you? I knew you're alive! Is Xuefan actually alive? The elders looked around frantically. With him alive, the case of the sex destruction has a solution. Yet no amount of searching helped. A laughter came then. Ha ha ha, 3 imps trying to scan with your souls in face of yours truly? How pitiful! With a whoosh, black thunder flame erupted from that space. As high as a kilometer and spreading for miles and miles, the black thunder flame took the shape of a giant with golden eyes. The flame within like 2 erupting volcanoes. The sheer dread coming off him slammed into the 3 Genesis stage elders. They shuddered and felt like mere insects that could be stomped at any time. This. All craned their necks to watch the black fire giant. Feeling their knees going soft at its power, Yilin fared no better despite knowing the truth behind it. He gulped. What is this? Did the 9 Serenities sovereign descend? This power was at the level of his master, and only the 10 sovereigns wielded it. Everyone knows 9 Serenities sovereign is missing, so how can he suddenly be in the mortal domain? Yulin was too shocked to make any sense of it when a sacred beast inheritor was scared. Much couldn't be said about the rest. Looking white as paper and gasping for breath, the 3 Genesis stage elders were overcome with fear, looking at the huge face gazing at them with scorn. Ha ha ha, weren't you great before, you weaklings? Did the cat get your tongue? As senior. Elder Dew's shaky voice barely got a word out as he bowed. May I know who senior is? The 2 golden balls of fire flashed as he cackled. Ha ha ha, mistaking respect for fear. I've heard this saying many times, but weren't you 3 pipsqueaks, shouting about wanting to see me? You won't believe it until you see it, right? Well, here I am, do you believe it now? Overlord 9 Serenities? SSS. The elders gasped in shock. Elder O, who had analyzed Overlord 9 Serenities' power just now, almost soiled his pants. The sheer power rolling off this giant was enough to rob them of all of their courage. They knew now universal righteous sect's demise wasn't made by borrowing power, but by unquestionable might. Overlord 9 Serenities had never been seen before, but now they felt it all too well. The destructive power he wielded. The trio fell to their knees on the spot. Senior, please forgive our foolish words of ignorance. Ha ha ha, brats, do you take me for someone as petty as you? The black giant mocked. The Missy has gone against your words and contradicted you, yet you wanted to attack a helpless woman? Humph, who knows how pissed off I'd be over the last 300 millennium if I were as petty as you. SSS. Gasping for the 3rd time, they all looked in shock. Oh hell, 300 damn thousand years? What the hell is he? Even the oldest sect in Western lands is barely 10,000 years old, but this guy is 300 times that. For crying out loud, he's an old freak through and through. What invincible sword, he's nothing to this guy. No wonder he's so amazing and overpowered. Wonder what stage he's at. Definitely above Genesis stage. The trio broke out in sweat, scared to death from even moving. Ignoring them, the black giant stared down at Chu Ching with a sigh. He waved and a flickering ring floated down. Ching, may I call you that? Is this what you were looking for? The ring rested in Chu Ching's palm, staring at the keepsake belonging to Zhuofan. This is Zhuofan's. Chu Ching looked at the giant, wanting to ask more but too afraid to know the truth. The giant spoke. Child, forget about him. He won't be coming back. Chu Ching's fists shook. I had founded Devil Mountain 300,000 years ago, when no one could stand up to me. Recalling ancient memories, the black giant spoke. But after 200,000 years I grew tired, focusing on understanding Tao, and entered seclusion, vanishing from the world. As it happened, in my rare travels in between across the world, I have met with disciples worthy of note. Zhuofan is one such disciple. To understand Tao, one must live in the world, then rise above it. Most disciples do not roam the lands, but Zhuofan was still young, and so I let him go before taking him back to dwell on the experiences. I thought the skills I passed on to him were enough to safeguard him. But never have I imagined he'd be tricked by some rotten people. This is life, this is fate. The black giant sighed in mourning. The elders broke out in sweat. It's obvious now that it was revenge, but it's not like we can do anything to him either. Didn't you hear him? He was already at the top of the world 300,000 years ago, stopping all infighting before withdrawing. He's on a different level than our petty wars. All of Western Land's power won't be enough to even scratch him. Not to mention Devil Mountain isn't made up of one man. There's still plenty of disciples. If they come out, what would happen to the world? The elders were scared to death. Looking into this case any further would poke the hornet's nest. Not even the invincible sword would be so stupid. Chapter 846, Consideration. Chapter 846, Consideration. Proofreader Papatonks. But Senior, I've seen the same fire when Zhuofan died that I see today. Was that Senior as well? Unafraid of this giant's power, Chu Ching looked up with hope. The golden balls of fire flashed. Yes, that was me snapping my fingers. Well, crud, If just snapping your fingers turned 500 miles into a wasteland, then the old guy must be beyond almighty. The elder's heart jerked. Yilin barely held himself from lashing out. He knew what happened the best, since that was actually his doing. The fact that this black guy took credit for it proved. This is no 9 Serenities sovereign, but Zhuofan's high-class act. How did he make it so real, though? He's even got 3 Genesis stage elders shaking in their boots. Glancing at the said elders, Yilin snickered inside. Then Zhuofan. Chu Qingqing was still hopeful. The giant was blunt. Is dead. Dead? Chu Qingqing recoiled from shock. Paling Zhuofan was in pain seeing his lover showing such utter despair. His nails drew blood as they dug into his palms, but his voice was firm. When I arrived, Zhuofan's soul was gone, his body mauled. In my rage, I removed everyone, down to the last man. I then took his body to bury him on Devil Mountain before coming to handle any resentments. Some puny sects of Western lands showed some truly outrageous nerve to kill Devil Mountain's disciple. Humph! It's all thanks to my insights and Tao that tempered my spirit, or else the whole of Western lands would have burned. The elders hung their sweaty heads, fear already prevalent in their terrorized hearts. Holy hell! The 4 sects had poked a god this time. Only fortune has it that his temper got milder, and he did not drag down the rest of Western lands with them. They could practically imagine him changing the world's landscape 300,000 years ago like it was nothing. Good, the 4 are done with, lest they troubled Western lands further. The elders instantly switched tunes, no longer looking into the unfortunate loss of 4 sects, but actually cursing them for asking for it and getting what they deserved. You'd be better off messing with the invincible sword than this old freak. Does that mean he's truly dead? Not registering all of his words, Chu Qingqing gazed with dead eyes before slumping. Shui Rahua rushed over. Qingqing. What's wrong? Zhuofan wanted to go as well, to hold his wife, but he reined in his impulse, lowering his hand and shaking his head. His heart was bleeding, but he found no other solution, not when his enemy was just too strong. It was tantamount to suicide. With no idea when he'd appear, he didn't want to drag her into this and chose to cut off this cherished marriage he had barely formed. Hum! The thunder ring in Chu Qingqing's hand vanished and appeared before the giant's face. Listen up, you brats. Qingqing is my disciple's wife and now, a part of Devil Mountain. The black giant looked at Chu Qingqing. Tell her when she wakes up, that all of Devil Mountain will recognize her ring. To stay calm in the face of trouble, for it will flicker and shine with new hope. The giant vanished then, along with his power. Looking at the remaining inferno around them, the elders stood up at last, only to slump back down, gasping and lamenting their fate. Oh dude, that was scary as hell. That freak, senior felt worse than when meeting the Exalted. You think? I bet not even facing Invincible Sword would get such a reaction out of me like that, senior. His dreaded aura was just terrifying. Yeah. The trio felt like they went through hell. Now fortunate they came out alive. Then they looked at Chu Qingqing. Hurry and take her to the sect. Elder O, junior sister Qingqing has fainted from heartache. We can't disturb her, yet Sir wants to return. Wu Qingqiu sighed. Elder O sputtered. Cut the crap. Who said anything about dragging her back? I'm telling you to carry this lady carefully and tend to her health. She has to recover. Ugh! Everyone made weird faces. What's with the elder's mood flipping like that? 1 minute he snapped when Chu Qingqing contradicted him, and now he... Elder O rolled his eyes. Are you fools, or what? Didn't you hear, senior? Chu Qingqing is seen as his disciple's wife and now under Devil Mountain's protection. If anything happens to her while in Double Dragon Manor, then the senior, will take it out on us. On the other hand, with the senior backing us, not even Invincible Sword will sound scary. That makes the young lady the brightest gem we have that we must nurture. Elder O was firm, with the other elders nodding. Now they understood and agreed with him. These elders are damn practical at least. Yilin realized why Zhuofan assumed the role of Overlord 9 Serenities. To protect Chu Qingqing, he witnessed Chu Qingqing going against the elder, and while not able to defend her in person, He used Overlord 9 Serenities to give a pretentious speech and raise her value in the elder's eyes. It was the same as looking after her while being worlds apart. He figured that no matter what danger might befall Western lands, none would touch Chu Qingqing. Yilin sighed and said, "Elder, the case of the four-sex destruction now has a resolution. But there's still one problem. Overlord 9 Serenities has taken revenge for his disciple, but what about beast taming sect? Let's just lump it in as well." Elder Du waved. "Senior had us so scared there's no way we'll still be looking into beast taming sect. Since it and Zhuofan have grudges, we'll say it's the master looking out for his disciple since we can't look into it now." "That settles it." Yilin nodded, grinning inside. "That'll be a perfect closure." They took the unconscious Chu Qingqing and left the area, with the elders taking the lead, not wanting to stay a moment longer after they were gone. Zhuofan came out of his space with a pained look. It was his last goodbye to Chu Qingqing. "Elder brother, that was one high-class act. You got us soiling ourselves from fear. I even thought 9 Serenities Sovereign was here." Zhuofan frowned and turned to see Yilin coming back. Zhuofan asked, "Why are you here?" He. "There's still some things I don't get. I had left with the old Coots then, but I have come back for elder brother's wisdom." Yilin bowed. Zhuofan walked away. "Don't feel like it. How cold, after bringing sister-in-law so you could see her one last time before leaving Western lands." Zhuofan paused and sighed. "What is it then? Just how did you turn into a demon emperor and even got those 3 Genesis stage experts scared to death?" Yilin beamed. Zhuofan spoke. "Easy, a grain of truth in a sea of lies. The figure was an illusion I made, but it's not enough to scare those 3 by itself. But since they were wounded and weaker, they couldn't sense properly. Also, the black giant contained a trace of the destructive thunder flame. But what sold it was the eyes, the remaining 2 dragon breath pills. Those held the power of dragon ancestor, of unquestionable power. This way, truth mixed with lies to make the fear they felt undoubtedly real." "Amazing! You're one shrewd guy to not only defeat me but achieve this as well." Yilin gave a thumbs up, ignoring him. Zhuofan left but paused again soon after. "I'm leaving Western lands. Make sure that in the Double Dragon Manor, Qingqing. Don't worry, with me around, sister-in-law will be safe." Yilin declared. Zhuofan grinned and vanished from the lit-up night by the blazing inferno. Chapter 847, Explanation. Chapter 847, Explanation. Proofreader Papatonks. Exalted, Overlord 9 Serenities was at least 300 meters tall, reaching the heavens and stepping on the earth, even without being able to see him fully. He was covered in black flames as they swallowed the skies, his eyes burning like the midday sun, around 10 meters big and unleashing a terrible light. In the heaven-reaching pavilion of the Double Dragon Manor, the 3 elders returned with their teams of disciples to report, now kneeling before the exalted double dragons. The fear had yet to recede from their features ever since that encounter. The exalted looked at them, then at each other with dumb looks. Exalted Ran was astonished, finding it hard to speak. 300 meters tall, with eyes as big as 10 meters, you call that a man? Ugh! The 3 elders recoiled and shook their heads. They saw this reaction coming, since not even they would believe an old monster like him would still be around without having borne witness. "Exalted sir, we saw it with our own eyes. We'd never lie about this. Sirs can ask the kids too, they were there as well, under the expert's overbearing aura." Elder O sighed. "We saw the universal righteous sect being razed to the ground, replaced by a scorching inferno. The senior's power is beyond anything we know, a true monster cultivating for 300,000 years. There may not even be anyone to challenge him in the world, not even Invincible Sword. However, Devil Mountain has secluded itself, with its disciples no longer roaming the lands. If such an ancient and outstanding sect would have stayed around, that Invincible Sword wouldn't even have had the chance to show himself." The exalted were skeptical still. This was a tough pill to swallow. How can the world hide such an overbearing existence? But seeing the group so flustered and honest, then recalling Zhuofan's obscene power, the one to teach him had to be a freak in itself. The exalted shared a nod. choosing to trust it somewhat that Overlord 9 Serenities might not be such a literal giant, since there were skills to make one look big. Though he had a giant's power to shake 3 Genesis stage experts like nothing, that made looking further into Devil Mountain's vendetta a complex issue now that was better put off. No one wanted to kick the hornet's nest. Exalted Hayran waved his hand. Since no other area is behind this incident, it shouldn't affect Western lands, so we'll let it go for now. With 5 sects gone, they were asking for it to be destroyed by messing with the wrong man. We don't need to stir it further and plunge Western lands into more mess either. Elder, do inform every sect of this, that it was not a conflict with another area. You're also to warn them to keep to themselves and not run amok. Who knows if there isn't a second Devil Mountain out there? Yes, sir, I'll be right on it. Elder Do bowed and withdrew. Exalted by May frowned. So the 5 sects killed themselves through their actions, but what are we to do now about the empty seats? With the Western lands so vast, with just 4 out of 9 remaining, it will leave a great vacuum across the board. It may even prove to be a weakness for others to exploit. Exalted Hayran sighed. We can't touch Devil Mountain, but now Western lands has suffered heavy losses, affecting its stability. The people below sighed as well. It wasn't as simple as having Western lands' power cut short with the loss of those sects, but also its control over it. This only grew worse since a Superior 3 sect and a Middle 3 sect were included. A Superior 3 sect didn't just have some mere venerables, but oversaw a large empire as well as dozens of other neighboring nations, watching them for any infiltration from other areas, while Heaven Trailing sect was the last Middle 3 sect, located around a third-rate empire like Tianyu. It still overlooked the dozens of other nations around. Adding to that was the beast-taming sect being gone as well, leaving no one in the Qianrong Empire. At least a fifth of Western lands was now out of the 9 sects' control. It was a severe blow to Western land stability. Western land sects didn't just share control, but also danger. The chances were high that the central area might take advantage of this breach, crushing Western land's force like nothing as it invaded. This was the Exalted's greatest fear. Elder O pondered before speaking. Exalted sirs, this land might be empty, but not that big, with only Universal Righteous Sect's territory on the large side. Why don't we just split it among the other 4 sects? Absolutely not. Exalted Hayran shot it down. The domain of every sect is based on strength, on what they can take. Not having the strength aside, the sheer manpower required to be sent will be too much to get all that land under control. Don't forget the demon scheming sect's lesson. Elder O shook and hung his head in shame. How could I forget such a crucial point? The 9 sects had stabilized the Western lands, but that was due to their hostility among each other and not unity. When one betrayed, the other 8 destroyed it. The same applied to every sect. The group held together under the same principle, watching each other like hawks. If one betrayed the sect, he'd be killed on the spot, but once a faction rose from a sect and settled outside, you could be sure it would grow and fight the original. Especially now, when the lands need support and help to prevent the outside enemy from creeping in. Xiaoyue was rubbed the wrong way when he was kicked off his chair and even brought outsiders to rebel. This situation was even worse, as when a sect would be split, internal discord would rise. Elder O was sweating buckets, cursing his loud mouth for such a rotten idea. He almost sent Western lands to its doom. Exalted Hayran knew it wasn't on purpose and only frowned at the problem. Wu Qingqiu bowed. Exalted sirs, I might have a proposal, though unsure if I should speak. There's no harm in speaking. Exalted Hayran urged. Wu Qingqiu began. The 9 sects overlook their own domain, safeguarding Western lands. This makes it so only those people of every sect know their domains the best. Calling them local thugs isn't wrong in this sense. The Exalted looked at him hard. Exalted sirs, since 5 thugs died, rather than take one from the other 5, it's better if we pick a new thug from the empty places, to defend Western lands. You mean? The Exalted heard Wu Qingqiu's proposal and spoke at the same time. Foster a new power to make up for the empty 5 sects? Wu Qingqiu nodded. But what group in the secular world has what it takes to take on the duty of a sect? Exalted, I know of one that can take such a burden. Wu Qingqiu's eyes shone with determination. In our journey to Tianyu Empire, I discovered the Luo Alliance, filled with capable people, experiencing swift growth and looking out for others. Among their men there are also experts from the demon scheming sect that the Alliance took in. With Double Dragon Manor's assistance they are certain to grow even faster, to support Western Land's peace. Exalted Hayrant's brow shook, then looked at the rest. What do you think? Agreed. 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 Yilin, Yenmo, Wentao and the other disciples spoke together. The Exalted were curious about this. What's their connection to Luo Alliance to side with it? Then again, since the Luo Alliance could gain such outstanding geniuses' favor, it shows it's capable. Exalted Hayran turned to Elder O. Look into it, see if they are worthy and help them. This shall be Western Land's fortune. Yes, sir. Elder O bowed and carried the order. The meeting went through some minor matters before ending. Wu Qingqiu and the disciple flew for a waterfall when he smiled. Having secured the Luo clan a seat among the sects, Brother's spirit should be pleased in heaven. I don't know about that, just that I can't let my rival down. Yenmo sighed and shook his head. Let's tell Chu Qingqing the news as well. It should help her ease her sadness. Hard to tell. She doesn't look like the type to chase glory. Yilin sighed. Yenmo smirked. Hey, Chu Qingqing doesn't like you much, so what are you doing coming as well? Her not wanting to see me is one thing, and another for me to go to her. What's it to you anyway? Yilin huffed. Wu Qingqiu chuckled. Don't fight now, we're here. The group landed in an elegant yard around a clear pond. They were only greeted by Shui Ruohua and Danner, looking lost and scared. What's wrong? Wu Qingqiu rushed over and then froze. A graceful figure leaned on the bed with a heartbroken look, her silver hair fluttering in the breeze coming from the window. Chapter 848, Back to Allbeast Mountain Range. Chapter 848, Back to Allbeast Mountain Range. Proofreader Papatonks. Shriek. Roar. The howls and cries of animals of all kinds shook the forest. The densest area in the Tianyu Empire, while also the most dangerous, was Allbeast Mountain Range. Any average person setting foot in it was tantamount to suicide, with even the stronger ones not faring any better. Going deeper, rumor had it that the range held some true supreme beasts that no cultivator could defeat or escape its claws over the ages. It gave this range the thickest air of mystery humanity had yet to unravel, even though people trekked it now and then, or maybe there had been some. Only to never escape its domain. With the truth now, though, a man in a black robe was walking casually deeper in, with only the spiritual beasts howling and growling as company. In the end, there were always some ignorant beasts baring their fangs and pouncing on the man's flesh. One got pretty close to him, but the spiritual beast's eyes blanked out, slumping dead. The man, though, went on without a care, his smile vile. The sudden weird intruder stirred up all the spiritual beasts in the Allbeast Mountain Range. Some savage ones scrounged up their courage to challenge this interloper, only to fare no better than the first foolish creature. It went all the way to the 6th level spiritual beasts. Only after 3 7th-grade spiritual beasts fell dead at his feet did the beasts of Allbeast Mountain Range finally know fear and the demonic power of this man. As if on cue, the beasts scattered, the birds fled, leaving no one but the interloper in this wild environment. Finally, with no beast around to growl, the Allbeast Mountain Range's true king descended. Who are you? How dare you venture deep into the Allbeast Mountain Range? With a reverberating roar, the man looked up, and the huge shadow bearing down on him, a 3-headed bird, looked at him in fury. On its forehead was an azure flame, flickering around. Snickering, the man said, 3-headed crow, it's been a while. You know me? The 3-headed crow started. The man in black lifted his head and showed his smile. Forgot me already? Remember when you took me and young Sanzi here to see Senior Quinping? Serjua? The 3-headed crow was stunned and landed with a bow. Forgive me for not welcoming you, Serjua. You honor us with your presence. I only heard there was a human making a scene and was unaware it was you. Zhuafan waved him off. Ha ha ha, it's fine. I only came to see Kunping. Since you're here, take me there. Well? The 3-headed crow looked conflicted. Serjua, 1,000 pardons, but I need to inform Master first of your sudden arrival. Please wait here for a moment. No beast will harm you with the Master's azure flame protecting you. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Hearing the scorn the three-headed crow sounded respectful, but it was just veiled mockery. What he meant by Master's azure flame protecting you was in fact telling him he was nothing without it. How else would you have had an easy time coming here? You'd have long been a spiritual beast's meal by now. Don't get cocky. He's clearly mocking me for only coming here thanks to Kunping's power. He couldn't be more wrong. Zhuofan squinted. Three-headed crow, I've met Senior Kunping before, so why make it so hard? Just take me there. Can't do. Allbeast mountain range has rules. To see Master, all must be announced first. You can only see him with his permission. Master would otherwise punish me for bringing you unannounced. The three heads shook, his stance clear. Zhuofan sighed. That's such a waste, going back and forth when I'll meet the old guy anyway. How about this? You take me and I'll take full responsibility. Just say that I forced you. You! The three-headed crow cracked up, his eyes shone with disdain. Please, and here I thought humans have brains. Why sound so dumb then? I'm a great 9th level spiritual beast, and you think you can force me? You'd have a better chance with any other spiritual beast, thanks to the azure flame, but that treasure won't work on me. I have it as well. Forcing me? What a joke, ha ha ha. It was plain to Zhuofan what he was thinking, so he smiled while his left eye shone with the black thunder flame, unleashing its dreaded aura. Who? As if smacked by a mountain, the three-headed crow slammed into the ground, its azure flame flickering to stay alive before dying out. The 6 beady eyes widened in shock. The greatest gentle flame, Chaos Flame, belonging to the Lord of the Sacred Beasts, the head of 5 great sacred beasts, was just destroyed. How? It was one of the 5 greatest powers born out of chaos, so how could it just cave? The three-headed crow refused to believe what happened, but looking back at the blackness burning in Zhuofan's eye made his heart shudder. It felt like staring death in the face. This human has the power to kill sacred beasts. The three-headed crow was smart enough to figure all that out instantly, its feathers standing on end, sweat trickling down. With a nasty snicker, Zhuofan stepped on the still shaking spine. Now you can raise your head high and declare to Kunping that I forced you. The heads shook in fear. This overlord of the Allbeast mountain range, in the 9th level, was scared to death. Then let's go. Zhuofan's right eye closed and the aura faded without terror seeping into its bones. The three-headed crow slowly got its feet under him and took flight without a peep, spreading its 500-mile-long wings as he flew to Kunping. The man and beast arrived in 15 minutes. The familiar cave appearing in view, like a beast ready to swallow you whole. The three-headed crow landed next to it, since he couldn't just bring someone unannounced. Having already defied his rules, not like he had a choice, not when the human was stronger. The three-headed crow braced and shouted. Master, Sir Zhou has come to see you. Dad's here? The first to shout was a cheerful youth, followed by a flash of red. Gu's Santong shot out of the cave and into Zhuofan's arms. Dad, you came at last! Zhuofan softened and smiled. Young Sanzi, I didn't come just to see you. Your old man will always be by your side. Really? Gu Santong cheered. Great, Dad will stay with me. Awesome, Dad is. A bright laughter announced Kunping's buff body coming out as well. Ha ha ha, brat, are you so free to see me? You didn't even drop a hint you're coming. I'd have sent the crow to bring you. Thank you for that. Zhuofan nodded. Kunping sounded polite, but Zhuofan read in his eyes a grudge. What kind of king has people coming and going as they please? Chapter 849, Things Changed. Chapter 849, Things Changed. Proofreader Papatonks. Zhuofan jumped down with Gu's Santong in his arms and gently patted three-headed crow's warm plumage, like a good pet he was. Thanks for dropping me. You can go now. Ugh. Kunping's smile crumbled as his face shook. His cold eyes stared straight at the crow with fury. Three-headed crow was Kunping's subordinate, his right hand, obvious by the chaos flame he loaned. As things stood now, even this trusted aide went against him, bringing an outsider without his approval. To top it off, he listened to another's orders. If that wasn't betrayal, what was? Zhuofan had done it to undermine his authority, to poach his aid as the king of beasts. Anger was a given. Alas, Zhuofan was a distant guest that had yet to push things too far, not enough to warrant conflict. The same couldn't be said about the three-headed crow. He directed killing intent towards the crow, releasing bloodlust. The three-headed crow shuddered, tearing up in fear as the three heads looked hurt. Master, it's not me. He made me. Not like Kunping would believe him. His mind was set on dealing with the three heads and how he was going to vent. Senior Kunping, I've come too suddenly and I'm imposing on you. I had forced the three-headed crow to take me before informing you. Do forgive me. Looking between one angry and one bitter face, Zhuofan chuckled inside. Speaking at the perfect moment, whether intentionally or not. Kunping was outraged, not bothering to mask it as he cursed inside. He's under me and I can do what I want with him. What are you doing helping him out? Since he still had use for Zhuofan, he had to rein it in. He let out a long breath, pushing the anger down and speaking in a calm tone. Gu Santong got ahead of him though. What's so bad about it? Dad's one of us. Wherever I am, it's Dad's home. No point of informing when he's just coming home anyway. Right, Uncle? Yeah, ha ha ha. Kunping turned to Gu Santong with a weird look, then let out a dry laugh. Three-headed crow, listen here, Zhuofan is one of us, so he can come see me anytime. Understood? Kunping's smile turned into gnashed teeth at the end. Glaring at three-headed crow, Gu Santong was oblivious to the subtleties, taking it at face value. Kunping was just teaching his men to look after Zhuofan. Zhuofan knew how to read between the lines though, sour since his own man was listening to another's orders. Zhuofan shook his head. The three-headed crow felt victim here, bobbing his heads. Don't just stand there looking dumb, stand aside and wait for Zhuofan to leave. Glaring at him one last time, Kunping found three-headed crow even more of an eyesore. Three-headed crow didn't make a peep, it just sat there at the side, like a good subordinate. Gu Santong asked. Uncle, you're looking mighty angry today. What's up? Nothing, just a toothache. Kunping waved his hand. Zhuofan almost cracked up. Toothache? You're a sacred beast, for crying out loud, immune to cold weapons and the world's elements, yet you're telling me you got a toothache? Are you alluding to something here, that maybe I pissed you off? Gu Santong frowned. Even for him this reason was hard to accept, but he didn't push it. He returned to hugging Zhuofan's neck. Uncle, you can just have the bird leave. He doesn't need to send him off because Dad said he'll always be by my side. He ain't leaving, he. Oh, what? Kunping jerked around at Zhuofan and shouted. Is young Sanzi right? You're staying as well? What about your affairs? What about mine? Aren't you sorting them out? Staring at his shocked face, Zhuofan smiled. Senior Kunping, before I answer, let me tell you my latest exploits. I've already completed half of your task. Not long ago, I met with the decimating dragon ancestor. Shuddering, Kunping looked amazed. What did he say? Everything, including the events ages ago, as well as my situation. Zhuofan smiled and then sighed. Kunping gasped and nodded, looking serious. Since you know everything, what will you do? What else is there but being on your side, hunted as I am as well? Zhuofan looked lonely. Kunping, thanks to Sir's aid, I have gone from nothing to having everything. Wife, son, friends, family, but it's also due to you that I had to cast them all out. I just don't know if I should hate you or thank you. Kunping eyed him coldly. When we met, you had nothing, and the same applies now. What changed? Ha ha ha. Anyway, to have everything, you need to keep your life and be the last victor. I'm not asking you to like me, nor to be grateful, because we're all in this together. Me and the other sacred beasts can't escape and will need you to do some things for us. So when you said you wanted to find Heavenly Sovereign's remnant and get his inheritance, I knew you'd be one of us. Ha ha ha, just like I thought, you didn't let me down and survived Lightning Canyon. A true disciple of 9 Serenities. Also, did that old fire dragon have a solution out of this? Zhuofan sighed and explained. Kunping lit up and nodded. I see, So the mortal domain has 8 large gaps, the whirlwind tunnel. Ha ha ha, the old fire dragon cell has been thrown around yet still found such a secret to help us escape. Far better than me, stuck here in Allbeast mountain range. Oh, since there are gaps in the mortal domain, then Heavenly Sovereign's divine eye of the void isn't perfect. If we unite, winning might very well be in sight. Boy, live on well. We'll just might make it in the end, ha ha ha. Patting Zhu's shoulder, Kunping laughed like he was the winner. Zhua Fan wasn't in the mood to join him. This was a grudge since ancient times, yet now he got dragged into this mess he even had to forsake everything. Zhua Fan's heart was in pain. He sighed and left with Gu Santong. Young Sanzi, you're coming with me now. We'll never separate again. Wait, where are you going? Kunping shouted. Zhua Fan spoke. I need young Sanzi's help to deal with Dragon Ancestor's task. Since he's in this mess as well, I don't need to push him away. The task he gave you should be much easier with just you alone. If in trouble, you can always send me a message for help, so there's no need to take the child with you. It's better for him to stay here and learn from me. Maybe Qilin will be needed later, for the 5 great sacred beasts to unite. Kunping squinted. Zhua Fan sneered at his words. Teach? I know exactly how Sundering Thunder Phoenix died. I don't want young Sanzi to die without even realizing, just so you could take his power. There's no way I'll leave my son in such danger. Gu Santong looked lost. Young Sanzi, come with me if you believe me. I'll explain it later. Zhua Fan spoke. Gu Santong looked deep in his eyes, then nodded. Kunping's eyelid twitched and he mocked. You think you can just leave, Zhua Fan? Where do you think you are, your backyard? Maybe not before, but now, ha ha ha, things have changed. Zhua Fan pointed and a huge golden flame appeared. Kunping gasped. Old Dragon's dragon breath pill? The 3-headed crow jerked back in fear. Humph, you think it can hold me? Kunping sneered. It may be his strongest attack, but I'm no weakling either. We've been fighting for ages with none coming out on top. You think you can scare me? You're not? Zhua Fan had a vile smirk. Oh yeah, you sacred beasts never had a winner amongst yourselves. Dragon Ancestor can't beat you, so of course Dragon Breath Pill won't work. Though that was before. Kunping, remember why you can't leave Allbeast mountain range. Shuddering, Kunping's face fell. Yes, you need the aura of the beasts to hide your own. The Dragon Breath Pill can't take you, but it will destroy Allbeast mountain range. I wonder if you'll manage to survive when Heavenly Sovereign finds you out and comes to kill you. The azure flame eyes shook and Kunping sighed. Clever brat, just take young Sanzi. But are you confident you can keep him safe? He's a sacred beast offspring, but has yet to mature. Many in the mortal domain have the strength to end him. Not before, but now I can. He took back the dragon breath pill and Zhua Fan's left eye shone with the black thunder flame. Because I am his father. He took Gu Santong's hand and left. Kunping watched in shock. What was that? The 3-headed crow rushed over. Master, he did indeed force me to bring him here. He looked from the crow to the distant Zhua Fan. Kunping sighed. I see, so things have indeed changed. Chapter 850, Central Area. Chapter 850, Central Area. Proofreader Papatonks. The Central Area, strongest of them all, and ruled by a single nation, Sword Star Empire. While the entire world lay fragmented, the Central Area was the most united, filled with experts. While ethereal stage experts ran things everywhere else, here, they were errand boys just to earn a living. To the point the guards and patrols in cities were mostly made up of ethereal stage experts. This came as a shock to any cultivator from the other areas. This was a land where one nation ruled, where one power held control, not like theirs, split apart in bits and pieces. Since ethereal stage experts were treated as such, that made all the cultivators below be nothing more than waiters and other odd jobs. So while the outsiders might be seen as young masters in their homes, here, there were strong people at every step. Enough to squash them. All they could do was keep their nose down, and not make a scene. Among them was one odd pair of father and son. The days of being brash, obnoxious, killing whenever and running away when they wanted were long gone. This wasn't their home and they had to be cautious, especially when their lives were on the line. Halt! Where do you come from? The gate had a huge board over it, engraved with the words Flying Cloud City. All flying cultivators were landing before it, making a nice queue to enter the city with calm and order. On each side of the gate stood two grizzled old men, releasing their mighty power for all to feel and declare they were rare ethereal stage experts in other areas. But a dime a dozen here they were given orders to check all newcomers. Something must have happened for the situation to be so tense. A man in black robe, pulling along a cute and adorable 7-year-old boy, approached the guards with a bow. Seniors, I come from Western lands. We've been hunted down by an enemy and forced to escape here. I hope seniors will help us. Hunted by an enemy? The two squinted and nodded with contempt. Ha ha, 5th layer radiant stage, and with a child dragging you back. Of course you'd be hunted. Just go, not like a weakling like you can cause anything. Yes, thank you, seniors. Bobbing his head, the man in black rushed in and dragged the boy, running. Even the two watched the pair with derision. This is being weak, unable to rise above their station all their lives. Right. Those bugs will soon find the central area much harder than Western lands, ha ha ha. The two mocked at their expense and continued with the queue. But then they felt a sudden chill in this clear weather that made them shudder, like there was some savage beast looming behind them. Swishing around, all they saw was a busy street, with people going to and fro. The two looked around in doubt. Did you feel that, old man? Yeah, like some viper was staring me down, about to take my life. You too? Yeah. The other old man nodded, but then he shook his head. Must be our imagination. It's only been a month since Lord Dongfang slaughtered hundreds of soul harmony experts, driving fear into us. Now everyone is in a panic, but there's no way those thieves would do anything in broad daylight. Especially not targeting nobodies like us, ha ha ha. Yeah, sometimes weakness is good. At least those that are strong will ignore us, the other one said with a dry laugh. Then he turned serious and went on with his job. Ironic how they already forgot that just now they laughed at the father and son's weakness in a dark corner of the city. The man in the black robe held the child's mouth without budging. When the gate situation calmed down, he eased a breath and let go the child through a fit, roaring. Dad, did those old coots look down on me? This hasn't happened since I came out the first time. If you hadn't stopped me, I'd have their heads in my hands right now. If you'd have done that, then we'd be doomed as well. The man in black smiled. Xuefan was like a totally different man now. His eyes looked bright, his face calm, curbing his evil tendencies to the max. Patting Du Santong's head, Xuefan smiled. This isn't Western lands. Flying Cloud City is the center of one of the central area's 9 domains. The ruler is one dreadful expert. Meeting him will make it very hard for us. What's there to fear? Don't you have Dragon Ancestors' Dragon Breath Pill? Just blow it in his face and he's toast. Gu Santong stuck out his head while shouting. Xuefan sighed. There are only 2 Dragon Breath Pills left. I don't want to use them unless absolutely necessary. In the mortal domain, a treasure like Dragon Breath Pill is of utmost value. Especially that. Xuefan's eyes were firm. People have to be strong themselves to be safe. I don't want to ruin my cultivation with tools. That's why these past 2 years you trained in that true self-art thingy, regressing your cultivation. Gu Santong pouted. Xuefan shook his head. True self-art is an art for the heart, not to set my cultivation back. Looking weak is just that, appearances. When in fact, it brings me close to self. If not for the 2 years spent training in it, who knows how broken my heart would be in this situation. Thoughts give birth to demons and saints. Maybe I'd have already sunk into a demonic state by now, unable to see the surface. My true cultivation easily reached the 5th layer ethereal stage, all thanks to true self-art's calming effect. Elder Yuan truly was my master. Seeing his vibrant eyes, Gu Santong sighed, knowing he was recalling the people he forsook. But then he pointed at his neck and grumbled. What's with this golden locket then? It's hideous, like I'm some wee child. Aren't you? Xuefan pinched his cute cheeks, teasing. Young Sanzi, any parent would want to see their child grow up healthy. I made the Everlife locket myself, with all my love. You have to wear it. Gu Santong's face twitched. Dad, but I'm 300 years old, not some kid. You think I don't know what it does? It just hides my strength. I'm in the 6th-layer ethereal stage, but with this thing on, I look like a defenseless 7-year-old. All the way here everyone's been pinching and ruffling my hair so much, I'd be dead if you didn't stop them. Hold it in for now. You're just too freaky. Have you seen any other ethereal stage kid around? Zhuofan waved his hand. Exposing your strength would be the same as a jester, getting everyone's attention in the central area. How are we supposed to work then? I know that. Dad made the demonic treasure to hide my aura, but couldn't you have made it smaller and not so flashy? It's humiliating wearing this huge thing. Yes, you're so precious. Zhuofan cut his grumbling short. Look at your childish and cute face. Isn't it innocent? Adding the Everlife locket, and you're an angel. No one would ever believe an angel like you hides a savage beast. You'll be the ultimate weapon. Think about it. When we meet some enemy too tough to fight, everyone will ignore you, leaving you room to break them with your fist. Ain't that cool? Gu Santong scrunched up his cute face, then nodded. Makes sense. That's my dad, already setting up the stage. Dad, when will we fight him? Hopefully never. Zhuofan's eye twitched and turned around at the city's center. The former best of Eastern lands, Shangguan Feiyun, now the lord of one of Central Area's 9 domains, lives there. It would be best if we can avoid him. Zhuofan's eyes grew hard. Chapter 851, Stopover. Chapter 851, Stopover. Proofreader Papatonks. Going by Dragon Ancestor's extremely sketchy map, a whirlwind tunnel should be around here. And since the strongest takes everything rule, it should be in the Flying Cloud Manor. Closing his eyes, Zhuofan analyzed the situation. But with Flying Cloud Manor being Shangguan Feiyun's, that means there'll be tons of experts. Sneaking in is nigh impossible. Smiley face, Feiyun equals Flying Cloud. Zhuofan opened his eyes, feeling a headache coming. Gu Santong sighed. What do we do then? Since Dad says there's a ton of experts, 2 of us can't stop them, short of using the Dragon Breath Pill. Dragon Breath Pill is the very last resort. I don't want to waste it. Zhuofan's eyes shone. Young Sanzi, you saw how tight the security at the gate was, how cautious the old guys were. We've been in Central Area for months now and seen plenty of cities, but only this one's guards were cautious. Gu Santong shook his head. Maybe because it's one of the 9 domains' central city? No, there's gotta be something else. Zhuofan shook his head and smiled. The Central Area has been overbearing and even declaring itself unafraid of the other area's spies. Because they're strong enough that no matter what leaks, they could still flatten anyone and anything. That's why the Central Area is relaxed and casual, instead of being tense and earning ridicule. Yet Flying Cloud City is different. This goes to show that something happened recently to make even Shangguan Feiyun grow cautious. This means that with how tight the security is, even at the manor, we have no chance at all of checking it out. Gu Santong shrugged. Zhuofan chuckled. Fortune favors the bold. With Shangguan Feiyun tense, that means he's threatened. I may not know where this threat comes from, but there's conflict going on. These troubled waters might just be what we need to slink through. Why didn't I think of this earlier? Dad's the smartest, ha ha ha. Gu Santong laughed. Then what now, Dad? Zhuofan smirked. Find a stopover and observe the changes. We may be staying here for a while, ha ha ha. Zhuofan flicked his sleeve and walked towards the most packed district. With a puzzled Gu Santong behind. 3 hours later, the duo stood before a large courtyard, looking abandoned for some time. Next to them was a bearded man, in the 6th-layer radiant stage. Good eyes, sir. Flying Cloud City has few great homes. If not for an urgent need for spirit stones, I wouldn't have given it up. The man saw no one around and made his pitch. Gu Santong rolled his eyes when he first saw the old man in the market, and in radiant stage. Pulling them to the side, he thought he was someone special, only to try selling them a house. It seems Central Area really is packed with experts, so much so Radiant Stage experts are useful only as real estate agents. What will that make of Profound Heaven experts, sweepers, or chamber pot cleaners? Sizing the house, Zhuofan nodded and sighed, saying, "Say a price. How about 8 million spirit stones?" 8 million? Zhuofan mocked. "Why don't you grab it? You take me for a money bag? Even in Western lands, the most a house would go in an imperial capital is 1 million. A house is just a place to stay, while spirit stones are the core of one's cultivation. Buying houses instead of looking after your training is breaking your future." The man showed a despising gaze. "You think this is Western lands? In Central Area, unless you're of amazing talent, you're a nobody. Look at me, if I roamed the Western lands a bit, I'd already have some prince or noble bowing to me. Here, though, I'm just an agent. Run out of Central Area then. Be someone among nobodies than a nobody among geniuses. Or is it that someone of Sir's strength can also make you rise? What rise? With my talent, I can't even get out of Central Area." The man gave a heartbroken sigh. "I'll be honest with you, I came here with my lord. He is a soul harmony expert, a guard in Flying Cloud Manor. He's one of the best in this region too, and later?" Zhuofan cut him off impatiently. "Since your lord is cared for by the Flying Cloud Manor, then he should be valued, so why? Sigh, it's all fate in the end." The man waved his hand. "We've been having it well at first, eating and drinking our fill, but just a month ago, the manor had a break-in, with the thief almost making out with some great treasure. The Sword King Shangguang Feiyun found out and flew into a rage, killing hundreds of soul harmony experts on the spot, including my lord. It wasn't his fault though, since the thief broke in even with Genesis stage experts in the manor. But when the lord got angry, they are the ones suffering. So your lord died and now you're selling his home?" Zhuofan figured it out. Now he knew why the city was so tense. Someone snuck into the manor. Since the thief went for his target but still didn't succeed, now waiting for another chance, the Flying Cloud City must now be under tighter security to stop him from getting help as well. Otherwise, the Sword King would have just focused on tracking him down instead if he succeeded. Since the treasure was still in the manor, the thief would try again, the perfect moment for us to slip in. Zhuofan grinned inside, a plan already forming in his mind. "Actually, you can tell yourself by looking at me that I'm an errand boy. How could I pocket 8 million? Afraid Zhuofan might label him disloyal, the man played the victim here. "Sir, just think, even with my lord a city lord's guard, I am just a guard's servant. Could a radiant stage cultivator handle a lord's house? When my lord died, the treasures and pills in the house were stolen by ethereal stage experts, leaving this place empty. So they let me look after it, deal with the asset, then move back home to have some status, rather than a nobody here. That's why, the 8 million won't be mine alone, but split among many experts. If you still find it excessive, I will lower it to 5, but that's my final offer. I'm only cutting the price since I'm in a hurry to leave. If you don't agree, I'll just have to sell it to someone else." The guy looked aggrieved, but none of it got to Zhuofan, who kept staring at the house. The guy frowned. He already played his role to perfection and even cut the price. What's the hold-up? Is he poor? Doesn't look like it. Since he's pensive, then he's on the fence about buying it, and should have the money. Just that the price is steep. His eyes lit up and rushed to say, "Sir, I'll come clean. This house is special." "How special?" Zhuofan cocked an eyebrow. The guy shook his head. "I don't know, since my lord had many secret rooms in it, for cultivation, refining, maybe even alchemy. Others split its wealth after his death, but it's not clear if they took all of it. As long as you find one item, maybe you'll break even. Take it as a freebie of sales and try your luck." Zhuofan chuckled. The greedy ones might fall for such a tactic, but not Zhuofan, though he still needed a stopover from where he could check things out. Grinning, Zhuofan turned to the guy. "Brother, didn't you say 5 million? That was without the freebie." The man beamed. Zhuofan waved his hand. "You'd have long found it if there ever was one. Nothing to do with me. 5 million, you either sell or I walk. I'm sure there are plenty of others in the market with how hundreds of experts died like you said. Shuddering, the man felt like ripping his mouth off for saying more than necessary. He was in a rush to leave though. If he didn't sell it now he'd be stuck. He had no choice but to lower the price, and so, the two finished the deal and Zhuofan brought Gu Santong into the house, unaware that this place already had an owner. Chapter 852, Freebie. Chapter 852, Freebie. Proofreader Papatonks. Freebie. Like an innocent child, Gu Santong was all smiles as he skipped into the house in excitement. One moment he was on a beam, the other in the pond, looking up every nook and cranny for that previous stuff. Zhuofan let out a chuckle. Young Sanzi, that man only said it to bait us into buying the house. There's no freebie. If there was any, they have long found it and left us with nothing. Maybe not, Dad. Skipping still, it did not put a damper on Gu Santong's excitement. Maybe those idiots couldn't find it while we can. With Dad's smarts and my nose, we'll sniff out any secrets. Zhuofan shook his head. Young Sanzi, and what if you find it? A puny Soul Harmony Stages toy is junk to us. There's dozens of stuff in my ring, and any one of them is superior by far. Why waste your energy? Gu Santong shook and looked back. Though his searching never missed a beat, Zhuofan found it odd. Then he exclaimed, Young Sanzi is a child at heart. It's not about finding something, but the journey. Young Sanzi used to search for herbs not just to fill his belly but also to play. Then Zhuofan and Kunping gave him more herbs than he could swallow, but took away the fun. His belly was stuffed, but had nothing this child could do for fun. Zhuofan looked at young Sanzi ashamed. He failed as a father, feeling guilty for not having understood his heart. Young Sanzi, go search. If you find it, tell me. I want to see it as well. Zhuofan shouted at the child darting around. Gu Santong looked back with a wide smile. I'll be sure to find it. Gu Santong was gone. Looking at the flash of red, Zhuofan shook his head, smiling inside. Dad, I found it. There's a treasure here. Gu Santong's cheerful cry came. I bet this is something Dad hasn't gotten yet. Zhuofan was stunned. There's actually something here? That was quick. Maybe that thief was right about being a freebie here. Zhuofan followed young Sanzi's voice, arriving before a run-down building. Zhuofan sized it up. Isn't it just a shed? The Lord must have been a weirdo to set up his cultivation room here. Or is it out of paranoia? Yeah, that has to be it. Those ethereal and radiant stage experts wouldn't think twice about looking here. Zhuofan not once thought about the stuff that might be hiding here, since hardly anything could impress him now. He only came to cater to his son's excitement. It's what a father must do. Young Sanzi, what did you find? Let me, Zhuofan cheerfully entered the shed, only to freeze in shock. In the middle of the shed lay a girl, with an egg-shaped face, sharp eyes, rosy skin and thin waist by the looks of it, heavily wounded, if the pale face and red line from the mouth were to be trusted. Young Sanzi squatted next to her and pointed in excitement. Dad, treasure woman, he. Zhuofan's face twitched, revealing a vile smile at young Sanzi and bopping his head. How old are you? How is a woman a treasure? I'm only 3.5 centuries old. Gu Santong was annoyed. I'm no child. I know plenty of stuff. Ugh. Zhuofan was speechless. I stand corrected, he isn't a child at heart, but a shifty old man using his appearance to his advantage. He doesn't need compassion, but a heavy hand. Zhuofan eyed Gu Santong. Young Sanzi, what will you do with your find? Since you're 3 centuries old, it doesn't look like you can use it as you are. Blushing hard, Gu Santong knew exactly where Zhuofan was going. He glared in shame and anger. Dad, you're nasty. I'm nasty? When you called a woman a treasure, what else could you have been meaning other than something nasty, oh wise guy? Zhuofan stared back pouting. Gu Santong huffed. I found her like this, unconscious and weak. The way I see it, she must be the cauldron the Lord used to cultivate. If so, I only saw her as a cultivating treasure. What's wrong with that? Damn brat, are you splitting hairs with me? Fan didn't shirk and touched the girl's icy wrist. He laughed. Ha ha ha, you got it all wrong. How's a maiden supposed to be a cauldron? Gu Santong turned to the girl with a puzzled gaze. Was I wrong? Then what is she doing in this place? Was she left behind? Fan mocked. Kid, what are you thinking? This girl ain't from this house. Think about it. With her looks, even as a cauldron, they'd take her for sure. Also, judging by her wounds, a month at least. Fan faced his son, showing off his wisdom. But then he squinted. But that means. Fan's eyes shone and walked behind the house. Young Sanzi, get a room ready. I'm going to heal her. Gu Santong was taken off guard by his actions, never knew Dad as a caring guy, going as far as healing a stranger. Especially a girl. Gu Santong had a coy smile. Sure, Dad, you're going to use healing as an excuse to dual cultivate. Wait till I tell Mom. Fan jerked, then glared back. Why, you little miscreant, since when have I dual cultivated? Did you forget what happened a month ago in Flying Cloud City? Flying Cloud Manor had a break-in. Gu Santong bobbed his head, then pointed at her. Dad, then? Fan's eyes shone, nodding. More likely than not, this girl is involved. By saving her, we'll get some valuable info out of her. So don't just stand there, get a room ready. Oh. Gu Santong bobbed his head and darted for the house, setting up a room in a jiffy. Fan came in with the girl, and set her on the bed. He used his energy while touching her forehead. Returning dragons roar. Roar! A green glow started entering the girl's body, healing her under their very eyes. When the glow vanished, the girl didn't wake. Her breathing faint, still in danger of vanishing. Dad, it didn't work? When we beat that old Huangpu, he gave us a hard time with his skill. Gu Santong was puzzled. Fan smiled. We were just in the radiant stage. But once in the ethereal stage, the real wound isn't on the body, but the soul. The last is in the 8th layer ethereal stage. Her wounded soul comes first, then her body. It won't matter if her body is healed but not her soul. I only gave her some first aid, letting her hang on a little longer. Now comes the hard part, healing her soul. Gu Santong nodded. Young Sanzi, look after her. I'll be cultivating for 3 days to make an 11th grade pill to heal her soul. Don't disturb me. Fan walked out. Gu Santong said, Aren't the pills we have enough? It's not just her soul wounded, but her odd state, like. Fan frowned in thought. He lifted the Qilin arm, looking at the scar vaulting sword left. A wound made by a sacred weapon. The strange energy is still there. Since it's a heavy wound, it needs special pills. Chapter 853, Waking Up. Chapter 853, Waking Up. Proofreader Papatonks. In a dark room, a 10-meter-tall bronze cauldron sat on a raging fire that spewed out thick smoke. The light shone upon a man, casting a black shadow and revealing his face. He had his eyes closed, his hands poised in a sign, as he sat before the cauldron. The cauldron started shaking then, blowing out its lid with a bang. It revealed a round and shiny pill, with a golden luster. It floated in the air and darted away. Fan flashed his eyes open and saw the pill flashing by him. He made a sign and pointed. Hold! The pill froze in the air, not budging. Grinning, Fan took a vial and placed it inside. The pill looked like a victim as it just slumped dully on the glass wall. Fan closed the vial with a smile. He walked outside, taking a deep breath of fresher air. 3 days refining feels like ages. The gaudy sun above and the deep breaths helped lighten his mood as he took large steps towards the guesthouse creek. He found Gu Santong inside, bored out of his mind, sitting at a table and watching the bed with a dead look. The pretty girl was like a sleeping beauty. Fan smiled. The young miss, how has she been these days? Dad, you're finally out. Any longer and I'd have gone stir-crazy in here. Gu Santong complained. Fan teased. Many others wouldn't have been able to sleep from the excitement to spend 3 days close to such a flower, but only you'd see it as a chore. Humph, like you said, I first need to be equipped. Gu Santong looked at his small stature inside Zhuofan's face twitched, rolling his eyes. Damn brat, you will one day. I heard sacred beasts mature when their powers increase. So grow up well. Patting his head, Zhuofan chuckled, turning to the patient. Gu Santong held his chin, then shook his head. Zhuofan touched her wrist. There's still hope. Her situation hasn't worsened. Zhuofan took out the vial and placed the still warm pill between her soft lips. The pill flowed into her body and she shook wildly, her unmarred face turning into a frown. The change was brief, as the girl eased a breath and calmed down again. Dad, why isn't she waking up? Was your pill a dud? Gu Santong saw the girl laying as always and complained, feeling her condition. Zhuofan nodded and smiled. Brat, that was an 11th grade soul pill, sacred soul pill. A dud? No, it's her heavy wounds that need more time to heal. In a few days she will recover. You watch over her and don't let her flee and make it all pointless. Zhuofan walked out. Hold on, Gu Santong complained. Dad, why am I stuck babysitting? You do it. I will make some tonic pills for her, ha ha ha. Zhuofan beamed, his pace quickening. He justified himself. Refining is so taxing. I wouldn't have done this if didn't want her to wake up. Whoosh. Just as he reached the door, a flash of red blocked him. Gu Santong pouted and snapped. Dad, my head might not be as quick as yours, but I'm no fool. You said no ordinary pill can help her, so you had me watch her while you refined. And don't we have plenty of tonic pills? What do you take me for, a 3-year-old? Zhuofan froze, darting his eyes around for a solution. Gu Santong shouted before he could find one. It's your turn to babysit. I'm out to play. Gu Santong was gone. Hey, wait. Too little, too late. The kid was long gone, turning from the sleeping beauty to the distant sun. Zhuofan sighed. Can't this kid share just a little of my burden? Watching a comatose person is boring as hell. I still need to find more about Flying Cloud City's situation. Yep, Zhuofan was like Gu Santong in this regard, not wanting to be stuck here like father like son. Waiting here for the slow trickle of time was worse than killing them, but since the sun fled, that left his old man to do this rotten task helpless to the extreme. Zhuofan slumped in the chair with Gu Santong's dead expression on his face. Yawning, he looked at the bed, then checked her condition now and then. He soon noticed that her state was improving, though she showed no sign of stirring. Frowning, Zhuofan gave her a few more pills, with no result. 3 days trickled by painfully slow, and the damn girl was still sleeping. Zhuofan's was far more impatient than Gu Santong, pacing around the room. The rare glance at the bright outdoors with chirping bird only worked to taunt him. Anyone would have lost it at this point. For crying out loud! Where the hell did he run off to? He just couldn't wait to get far away from his dad? Didn't he want to stay with me at all times, to rely on each other, be each other's support? Now look at him, it hasn't been a week and he's already fled. What kind of son leaves his dad for 3 days? Scowling, Zhuofan paced some more, and glanced at the bed even more, now turning his irritation on her. And you, brat, I've already healed you, so why aren't you awake yet? If you keep sleeping, I'll just thrash you. Silence welcomed him. A raging fire roared in his belly, with no place to vent. These 3 days were spent doing nothing at all. He couldn't even cultivate. Out of fear, the girl woke up and messed his concentration. These long and arduous, but mostly flat, 3 days were getting to him. He was no saint either, not shirking from hitting a woman. But he had an image to uphold, that of a father. Hitting a defenseless girl will ruin his image of me. As a father, only in front of his son did he curb his evil tendencies, so his sneaky eyes darted from one corner to the next, making double sure there was no young Sanzi in sight. He showed a vile smile as he approached the bed, rubbing his hands. Missy, it's for your own good. A couple of slaps ought to wake you up. If not, it'll make me feel better too. See, win-win, right? He. Zhuofan spat in his hands, lifted his hands high, and let them fall on the girl's most delicate face. There was no real force in it, of course, doing it just to let off steam. Anything more and her head would fly. The wind behind it, though, made her black hair float. The slaps weren't harmful, but they were sure to leave some lasting impressions. But then her eyes shot open, staring straight at Zhuo Fan in anger. Stunned, Zhuo Fan's hands faltered in the air. Pa. The pause gave the girl time to grab his hand and fling him on the bed. She jumped on him the next second, clutching his throat as she spoke in a loving voice. Who were you trying to thrash? Chapter 854, Oopsie. Chapter 854, Oopsie. Proofreader Papatonks. Since her actions didn't seem serious, Zhuo Fan let her have it, pushing him on the bed. Being under her, on the bed, and looking at her fine features, he looked lost. You're awake? Since when? Humph, for a day now. The girl glared. Oh, are you mad you didn't get to slap me? Zhuo Fan only heard the first part about waking up. At least she didn't hear me and young Sanzi. The show can go on then. Though there was some shift in the script, he wanted to appeal to her gratitude for saving her life to get her to spill the beans. But after this Oopsie, it was a miracle they didn't become enemies. Getting information now would prove to be a hassle. Sigh, idle hands are the devil's playthings. Why the hell would slapping some girl even cross my mind? Zhuo Fan shook his head inwardly, looking at the girl pinning him with a bitter smile. Miss, since you're awake, why fake it? How else was I supposed to get a grasp on the situation? Were you a friend or foe? There's only two kinds of people one would drop their guard around, a dead man and an unconscious one. The girl raised an eyebrow in pride. Your actions proved it. The fact that you'd be rough on an unconscious person shows you're not friendly. Only by faking sleep for a day could I see through your evil nature. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and nodded. Miss, you're a genius, a true veteran of the cultivation world. I am in awe seeing how you see through my little vile intent. Damn right, since I am Eastern lands. The smug girl grew conceited. Zhuo Fan had his ears peeled, though the girl sure was cautious. Stopping midway, sighing inwardly at the mischance, Zhuo Fan changed his approach. Miss, you're so young yet you're in the 8th layer ethereal stage, so much stronger than Western lands' best geniuses. You must be quite famous in the Eastern lands. What's it to you? Are you testing me for information? The girl roared. Her gaze showed she was on guard. Zhuo Fan's heart sank, knowing any further attempts were pointless. To avoid any aggravation, he played dumb. No, miss, that's not it. I was just saying. I don't mind if you won't say it. The girl huffed. Bang. Zhuo Fan was hearing the front door being knocked on. We've been in Flying Cloud City for a few days. Who could be looking for us? Don't tell me young Sanzi is at it again, stirring things all over the place. Don't move! Ka! The girl sounded far more nervous than him. He was choked so hard his neck sounded cracking. Zhuo Fan's face was beet red, tapping her hand quickly. Miss, you almost choked me. I should have, with how vile you are. It's what you deserve for not only holding me unconscious but even trying to slap me. The girl scoffed and ignored his protests. Her attention was completely taken by the knocking on the door. Zhuo Fan knew she had no intention to kill, or Zhuo Fan would have long since killed her instead, though getting choked is getting me nowhere. What was worse, if his son found him like this, what of his righteous image of a doting father? Zhuo Fan resorted to fake pleading. Miss, I'm but an alchemist. I healed you. You shouldn't harm your savior. Eyes shaking, the girl hesitated before easing her grip. I know that, clearly your mind is skewed since you wanted to slap me just now. But after waking, I sensed you giving me pills and knew you saved me. I'll let you go now, but don't you scream or try anything. Got it? Zhuo Fan bobbed his head, his hand zipping his lips. Only then did the girl take away her hand. Dad, there's someone at the door. Should I go see ya? After having his fill outside these 3 days, Gu Santong popped out of nowhere only to come upon this vivid picture. Quite the compromising position to Zhuo Fan on his back, with a girl straddling him. What took the cake was her hand on his chiseled chest. Though it was the one that choked him just now, the kid didn't know that. Gu Santong, of course, took the burning image at face value, labeling it as not safe for children. His reaction to this more than obvious adult affair was disgust. Dad, is this what you mean by unable to sleep from excitement? Since I can't understand nor partake, I'll let you enjoy yourself. Gu Santong left the room with a flat look, going to see who was knocking. What did he mean? The girl looked below her with a lost look. Shuafan's face twitched. Miss, you're more immature than a child. Don't you find our state even a little indecent? Indecent? The girl now reacted, having been pointed out. Looking down on Shuafan being under her, she went red in a flash and cried. What are you doing in my bed? Get the hell out! Shuafan rolled his eyes. Sister, don't tell me you don't know. It's you who dragged me on the bed here. And how am I supposed to go when you're sitting on me? Oh, right. Flustered and panicking, the girl rushed off him and off the bed. Shuafan glanced at her, like an innocent bystander. Whoosh. This mystery girl in the 8th layer ethereal stage, in her panic, got tangled in the sheets and fell as she got off. It resulted in one perfect angle impossible to reproduce, sending her falling on Shuafan. The calm Shuafan, still on the bed, pretended to be weak, willing to take anything she'd dish at him, even the incoming looming shadow on his face. So while this unknown had hit his head, Shuafan found a peculiar scent overtaking his mind, along with sweet and soft lips gracing his own. The two were firmly joined at the lips. The pair of eyes had never been so close. Watching each other, the two went wide-eyed, and the heat coming from the other made their hearts race and their faces red. Dad, there's a bunch of people outside. Gu Santong's timing was flawless, looking at the even more explicit view with a lost look. Should I let them? I'd better go. Gu Santong left like natural. Ah! The girl shrieked and jumped off the bed with a burning face. Her eyes teared up too. Shuafan looked embarrassed, sitting up. Clang! A sharp sound then revealed a jade longsword at Shuafan's throat. The girl spat through gnashed teeth. That was my first! You stole it from me and now I'll tear you to pieces! Wait, who stole what here? You did it, not me! Shuafan faked panic. You know very well I did nothing but lay here. It's all on you. Miss, let's be reasonable here. In any case, I'm your savior. That. The girl was ready to cry, but then she glared. I don't care. You used me and now you die. The girl pushed on the sword, about to pierce Shuafan's throat. Shuafan's eyes turned cold, and the Qilin arm shone red. He wanted the girl's knowledge, but since she lost it, and wanted to kill him, he'd have to return the favor. You brought this on yourself. Dumb girl, since I can save you, I can also kill you. At the very least, dumping your body in a public place should stir something and give me clues. Shuafan's eyes shone with bloodthirst. The girl was oblivious of it in her panic and shame. She'd never believe a wee 5th layer radiant stage cultivator would be a demon in disguise. Chapter 855, Inspection. Chapter 855, Inspection. Proofreader Papatonks. Clang! This was the only sound made by the sword as it flashed for Shuafan. The scarlet glow that followed hid within a bestial nature, one of power and wildness to turn any ignorant to mush. Shuafan stood there at ease, ready to grab the sword and snap it like a twig. Boy, you're newcomers in Flying Cloud City? Yeah. We're Flying Cloud Manor Guards. We have orders to inspect every recent newcomer. Where is the master of this place? Call him out. The loud shouts from outside entered the duo's ears. Pausing, the girl's blade went back to her body, stopping the attack. Her brow tensed at the sudden interruption. Shuafan pondered before he smiled inwardly. This chick must have gotten scared when she heard Flying Cloud Manor. Being found out was the last thing on her mind, which helped confirm Shuafan's guess. The girl had been involved in the break a month ago. With a sinister smile, Shuafan's eyes shone. The girl grew angry at his rotten smile. The jade sword once again went to touch his neck as she barked. What are you smiling at? Stop that! Shuafan turned a deaf ear. It's not me who's scared, but you. So what's there to fear? Shuafan's eyes looked up, looking amused and condescending. The girl was outraged, and found he ignored her even as she pressed the blade on his neck. Like he got confident all of a sudden as he looked elsewhere. Yet no amount of anger from her part would change that. Flying Cloud Manor's guards were at the door, making killing right now highly ill-advised. Once they're gone, humph! The girl squinted, sticking out her lip in anger. Miss. Juefan showed a vile look as he uttered. You're better off killing me. I'm not a nice guy, even planning on slapping you while unconscious. Humph, I already knew that. But I'm not killing you over that, but... The girl huffed and glared, then went red in the cheeks with a weird smile. Juefan nodded. Yeah, I stole your first kiss, but I don't think that grounds for murder. I've done something more foul to earn your anger and kill me. More foul? What? The girl was stunned. Juefan chuckled, then squinted as he sized her up, whispering in her ear. Miss, congratulations, you're now a woman. What? The girl shuddered, unable to believe his words. What did you just say? Juefan mocked. Wasn't I clear enough? Fine, let me be completely transparent. I broke you in. Boom! A storm exploded in the girl's head, shocked to the core as she shook her head. No, impossible, that can't be. You think so? Juefan snickered. Miss, you should know better than me just how fine you are. Just think, a man was by your side while you were unconscious, a fully adult male. Could something happen? Did something happen? You decide. I'll kill you. The girl lost it as she howled, pointing her sword at Juefan amidst the tears as if that wasn't enough for him. Juefan incited her more. Come, kill me, but it won't matter since someone already took you. That won't ever change. With the Flying Cloud Manor guards at the door, if you kill me, you'll soon follow. Maybe we'll even die together, be with each other forever. Hee hee, well, not that I mind, since my son can look after himself. As long as Miss doesn't have any others to worry about, let us die in the name of love. Why you? Her eyes shook as she gnashed her teeth. The sword trembled but didn't budge an inch. I knew it. She's not alone in the city. She might have relatives far from here, but that wasn't enough to make her hesitate. Subjected to such humiliation, impulse was a human's first choice, but she hesitated because her people were still around and in danger. If something happened to her, it would distract them and make it easy for the guards to catch them. The thought of their safety had her hesitate even in the face of death. Juefan was more sure than ever that the girl was a great lead. The sword fell to the ground and the girl hugged her knees while sobbing. Anyone would be heartbroken hearing her woo. Juefan smiled and went to pat her head. Miss, aren't you gonna kill me? Beat it! She roared like a banshee, wishing to swallow him whole. Juefan ignored it, of course, with a smile. Then let me tell you a little secret. You're still an untouched chick. What? Shuddering, the girl lifted her head in shock. Why, you aren't lying? Juefan shook his head. It's your body and you don't know. Why even ask? Blushing, the girl sensed herself and lowered her head in shame. Then why? I thought of letting you see what's most precious. Juefan said. Once you found out you were broken, you didn't have the mind to care about some kiss, right? When you're about to die, who the hell cares if you're broken in? People always have a line they do not cross, but since it was broken and done with, why think about it? You should always think more about what you have and not cling to what you lost. Juefan walked outside. Now, let's see Flying Cloud Manor's guards. The more you hide, the more you bring suspicion on you. It's better to face them calmly. Even if you are who they're after, there's no way some nobody guards would recognize you. Juefan chuckled and went on ahead with a pleased look. The girl was too dumbstruck to react. Juefan now looked like a sage, of great wisdom, and not like the bastard he just played as. Even the girl felt like what happened was ages ago. Juefan was but a fifth-layer radiant stage cultivator, but his confidence and resolve made the girl's heart skip a beat. Also, Juefan paused, lifting his hands. Try not to get smart when you don't even know yourself. Cleverness may overreach itself, ha ha ha. Juefan walked away laughing. The girl glared and then giggled. Her cheeks were becoming red, and for some odd reason, her heart wouldn't calm down. The sudden arrival of Flying Cloud Manor guards must be the cause. The girl took a deep breath to calm herself, and followed Juefan. The safest place was amidst danger. Seniors, how may I help you? Rushing to the entrance, Juefan found dozens of soul harmony experts, all wearing the Flying Cloud Manor symbol, a white cloud. Juefan bowed at once, like a humble man seeing his meager cultivation, The men ignored him and asked as a formality, "Are you new in town?" "Yes." "Who is this child?" A man pointed at Gu Santong. Zhuofan bowed. "Senior, he's my only son." "Where did you come from?" "Western lands." "Why?" "To avoid pursuit." "Are there any other people here?" "Ugh." Zhuofan paused, unsure if the last would follow him to meet these men, saying yes, but the last not coming would be ruining himself. But if he denied and then found her, the result would be the same. The guard frowned as he repeated, "Are there any more people here?" "Here I am." The girl rushed over with a bright smile. Chapter 856, Interrogation. Chapter 856, Interrogation. Proofreader Papatonks. The girl skipped over, bringing with her a fresh breeze. She stopped behind Zhuofan with a bashful look, like an innocent girl. The guards were dumbstruck by her behavior. Looking lost, it only made the girl feel self-conscious and hide behind Zhuofan, like a baby sister oblivious to the world's evil, protected by her big brother. The gentle nature instilled in the people a sense of protection. Zhuofan was stunned. Hell, this lass is versed in the world and an even better actor than me. He could still remember her outburst from before. He wouldn't tease her for this, since they were in the same boat. He just forced a smile and calmed himself. Moments later, the guards woke up and pointed at her. "Is she staying here?" "Yes." The girl's gentle voice echoed, soothing the guards. The guard had to take a moment to recover and pointed at Zhuofan. "Who are you two? Why have both of you come from the Western lands?" She. Zhuofan's eyes focused, thinking of a good name for her, but the girl got ahead of him. "He's my husband. We came from Western lands together." "Oh wait, what?" The men nodded but then froze, looking from one to the other in disbelief. "He's your husband? Why, what's wrong with that?" The girl nodded with a smile, then dragged a stumped goose Santong next to her. "Look, our child is all grown up." The inspection team was shocked, with Zhuofan looking lost. "Hey, chickie, moments ago you were trying to stab me and now you say I'm your man? What are you looking at? You're already getting the best of it by being my husband. What are you crying about? Keep staring and see if I don't poke your eyes out." Glaring at Zhuofan, the girl warned as her hand gripped Gu Santong, clearly using him as hostage to force Zhuofan, "Fall in line or your son will fall first." Zhuofan shook his head and sighed. He didn't worry about Gu Santong, not like the lass could do anything to young Sanzi. Zhuofan found this trap difficult. He could not admit just any random girl as his wife. Though it was fake, given the circumstances, he had to agree if he wanted to get over this mess. Regardless, he could not say it so easily since there was only one person in his heart. He wouldn't want to sully her image even if it was fake. Eyeing the odd couple, a guard asked, Miss, the man is only in the 5th layer radiant stage, while you are in the 8th layer ethereal stage." They just couldn't get it. The world had many cultivating couples of different levels, but it was also a world where the man was the head. His power represented his status. There was no woman willing to lower herself to a weaker guy. The odd thing here was not their gap in strength, but the reverse roles of this couple. This could have happened only if the girl was just too damn strong, so that she wore the pants in this relationship. Such a woman couldn't have just one guy there. "Miss, with your strength, you must be someone important in Western lands. Can it be you started a harem to replenish your yin and dual cultivate?" The guard asked. The girl blushed hard as she flared. "Why, you're making a harem? We're just a family with a child. How can I do something as vile as replenish yin? With how the world is ruled by strength, people would resort to anything for power, even women." The guard had a nasty smile. "Brothers, search the place. If she has a harem, they must be many. There's no way there's just the 3 of them." "Humph." "Yes, sir." The men shouted and shot inside, already on it. The girl's face looked conflicted and depressed. Zhuofan glanced over inside. "Even I wouldn't believe you, let alone others, since we're too different in cultivation." Whoosh. An hour later, The guards returned with shaking heads and the main speaker frowned. He refused to believe such a strong woman only had one guy. Fan smiled and stepped forward with a bow. Senior, please don't listen to her nonsense. She's not my wife. No? The guard shook and grew grave. The girl tensed, sweat trickling down. Is he selling me out? Then who is she? Why is she staying here? Fan sighed. Senior, the truth is, she is my cousin. Our clan is hunting us, so we had to run here. Your cousin? Then why did she say she's your wife? The guard shouted. Turning to the girl, she looked nervous. Fan pondered. Actually, she does want to be my wife, but my heart belongs to someone else. No other girl can have it. She was only playing a joke before. Please don't mind it, Senior. Tell me exactly what is going on here, or I will have her arrested. The guard barked. Fan smiled and nodded. Yes, of course, Senior. Allow me to tell you everything. My cousin and I grew up together, inseparable. I know she loves me, but I could not accept it. Seniors can see that her talent is better than mine, cultivating much faster. That's why I could not accept her love, finding myself undeserving of her. Oh, we can tell that much. You aren't a fit for her at all. The others nodded. Fan continued. Then I met a lady at the Ultimate Clarity sect, got married and had a child. But this earned the sect's rage and we were hunted down. I could only take my son and flee all the way to the central area. Fortune was with me for having my cousin along as well to look after me, or we would have died a long time ago. I could never return her feelings and… Fan turned to the girl. Cousin, I already have someone I love. Your love. Fan sighed, looking elsewhere as he was unable to accept her feelings. The men exclaimed, Oh, so a love triangle. With this girl being love-stricken. Ha, what a waste of good seed. An 8th-layer ethereal stage expert with pretty looks going after a waist leagues behind her. How can we experts find fault in that? The leader sighed. Another one nodded. Yeah, it makes too much sense, actually. Why did they have to be childhood friends? Brother, the place is clean, or at least the thief would have used some flat excuse, not go for such a convoluted melodrama. Just look at how conflicted they are. They all turned to the two to see Fan's guilty look. The girl's gaze never left him, her eyes glazed over, fools blinded by love, crashing marriages. The guards shrugged and the leader coughed. We understand, then we'll write that. This place belonged to a fellow guard of ours. Since you bought it, it's yours. Now, there's only the 3 of you here? What are your names? Oh, Senior, I'm Gu Yifan. Cupping his hands, Fan spoke. My son is Gu Santong, and my cousin. Fan hinted at her feeling sour for some odd reason. The girl spoke. I'm Gu Qingyan. Noted. After writing down on a jade slip, the guard nodded. From now on, you are the owners of this place. If there's anyone suspicious hanging around, report to the Flying Cloud Manor at once. You can also shout and make some noise. Our patrols will respond swiftly. Fan bowed. Thank you, Senior. Only what suspicious people? You don't know? The guard mocked. Homeless, wandering, shifty, repulsive and guilty-looking people. If you see anyone that fits that description, give us a signal. Got it? Yes, yes. Fan nodded. The guard smiled then waved his hand. Brothers, the next house. Ha ha ha, let's see how those thieves can hide as we search every place. Ha ha ha. Chapter 857, One Step Back, Two Steps Forward. Chapter 857, One Step Back, Two Steps Forward. Proofreader Papatonks. As the laughter grew faint in the distance, the auras of the guards faded as well. The trio watched them go with a sigh of relief. Now, close the door and see her out. Fan clapped and said. Young Sanzi woke up and pulled the girl posing as his mom outside. Gu Santong didn't use force, just playing the role of a child. Anything else and he'd be throwing her out. The girl was stunned. What are you doing? What, you ask? Humph. Fan glared at her. Didn't you hear, Senior? Meeting any homeless? Wondering, Gu Santong added, shifty, repulsive, guilty-looking people. The father and son finished together as they stared at the girl. Anyone suspicious is to be reported to the Flying Cloud Manor. You should be thankful we're only kicking you out. The two threw her out like nothing, then shut the door behind her. She only woke up from her daze when she was outside. But seeing the door shut, anger burned in her gaze and she kicked the door open. The two held the door and pretended to be shaken from the impact by staggering back. They looked at her in panic. What are you doing? The guards are just around the corner. What of it? That's more than enough time to end your lives. The girl glared. Fan shuddered in fake fear, then wailed. Big sister, we don't know each other. Us two have been drifters for years before finally coming to the central area, avoiding Western Land's pursuit, and starting a new life. We don't want any trouble. I don't know if you're related to the guard's search, but for our safety, please leave. Take it as a return favor for saving your life. Please don't drag us into this. The girl looked hard at the two, biting her lip, but then she asked, Hey, was what you said true? What did I say? About you and your wife. Did the sect break you up? What about your wife? Startled, Fan didn't think she'd be hung up on that in this critical situation. But it was also related to Fan's pain. Fan mocked all of a sudden. As if, to get them to ignore you, I made that on the spot. While I cast out my wife for better things and a brighter future. She's just a hindrance, that's all. She should be having the time of her life. Pa! The girl gave him a heavy slap in anger. You rotten bastard, I'll kill you for your wife's sake. Her sword was once again pointing at Fan's throat. Fan waved his hands frantically. Wait, attack now and the guards will hear you. And I'm your savior. Attacking me is being ungrateful. Humph, I'll spare you for now, but pray we never meet again. The sword shook and the girl roared as she sped away. I'll never stay a second in a bastard's place, or I'll end up as vile as you. Seeing her vanish in the night sky, her curses growing faint, the duo shared a crafty smile. Dad, are you just going to let her leave after all the trouble of saving her? Leave? Where would she go? Fan raised an eyebrow. Did you forget why the guards came? They are combing through the city. The Flying Cloud Manor wants to have eyes on every corner in the city, on every citizen. The taverns are the most conspicuous, with no way of hiding under such heavy monitoring. Leaving her? Ha ha ha, as long as she's in Flying Cloud City, she'll soon come back here. She's got no choice. Gu Santong nodded but wanted more details. But even so, why did we drive her out? Isn't it over the top? Not at all, this is psychological warfare. 1 step back, 2 steps forward. Fan's eyes glinted. We didn't kick her out because of her, but the people behind her. Think about it. Since we saved her, but by also hiding her, then we'll become suspicious about having our own designs. Maybe her people will think that we're on the guard's side, baiting them to come out. That will make gaining their trust harder. Now, though, we kicked her out, like scared average cultivators avoiding trouble, making saving her just a coincidence. As time passes, those people will be pushed into a corner by the guards monitoring and would think of using us. When in fact we're using them. The roles reverse as the schemes become twisted from every little detail, giving us the perfect win. Gu Santong nodded and sighed. I see it now. You know she can't go anywhere, so might as well kick her out. Also the people behind her would come, right? Ha ha ha, exactly. Now's just a matter of time. Fan closed the heavy door and took Gu Santong behind the house. Young Sanzi, where have you gone the last 3 days? I didn't see you at all. Around town, but since they took me for a child, they didn't let me enter many places. You said I couldn't force my way in, so I'll take you there tomorrow, what do you say? Truly? Of course, we're waiting for news now so we can afford some leisure, ha ha ha. Fan smiled at the child. Gu Santong was overjoyed. On the second day, Fan took Gu Santong to every known place in Flying Cloud City. They played around, had fun, not thinking about anything, not bothering with anyone. On the third day, Fan and Gu Santong went to enjoy the local cuisine and the fine dishes, relishing in these rare father-son moments. They put their plan behind them, so it went for 10 days, carefree and relaxed. Only that night, when Du Santon was skipping towards home with Xuefan smiling behind, the sudden sight stunned them. The same girl 10 days ago was now back. Only this time she looked far more downcast. She hesitated upon seeing them. Xuefan's face twitched, faking shock. "Big sister, what are you doing here? Don't just shout." Her jade sword was out and pointing at Xuefan, though looking awkward as she had to shout with hatred. "Listen here, I'll be staying here from now on. You can't kick me out nor report me. Try anything of sorts and I'll kill you." The lass was forced for sure to come back against her will. The father and son mocked her inwardly. Where can an ethereal stage cultivator hide in a city with soul harmony patrols? Instead of acting nice to get a place to stay, you're like a thug stealing it. Would you have been so tough when you left back then if you knew? Would you have still burnt your bridges, haha? Xuefan sighed. "Miss, I get your back, but can you not shout at us? I'm not one to look for trouble, but since our lives are in your hands, I don't have a choice. But where did that gentle and kind miss from 10 days ago go? How did you become a shrew stooping so low as to steal someone's home?" Shuddering, the girl looked hurt at his words, feeling like the victim instead. "You dare say that when you kicked me out?" The girl raged. "Do you know what I did these 10 days? Skulking like a rat in the streets, scared that every person I met would call the guards. I couldn't go to a tavern, I couldn't stay in another place from fear of being found. Flying Cloud City is so huge, yet there is no place that can have me. All I've done is run and run, in constant fear. If I hadn't come back, they'd have found me. Yet you call me a shrew." The girl broke down crying. Xuefan sighed and sighed. She kicked herself out. But only by encountering despair on the streets would she be willing to come back here. Chapter 858, A Family of Three. Chapter 858, A Family of Three. Proofreader Papatonks. "This room will be yours from now on, cousin." Xuefan creaked the door open, showing the same bed where she was healed. While jesting, scrounging her nose, the girl eyed him with a deep and grateful gaze. After wandering the streets like a dog for days, she now returned to the place where she recovered in peace. Anyone would be touched at this point, feeling like this place was home. Making a flourish, Xuefan invited her in. While he left looking at him leave, she shouted, "I saw you and your son having fun in town these days." Pausing, Xuefan frowned and looked back. "You mean we can't?" "You're very good to your dear son," the girl said. "From the 10 days you spent roaming Flying Cloud City, one can see how close the two of you are." Xuefan asked. "That's a father for you. What's wrong with that? But you said you abandoned your wife." The girl looked in doubt. "Going by your close relation with your son, it can't be that you would do such a thing to his mother." Xuefan squinted. "Women are women and a son is a son. Men are very clear on the differences. What does an unbroken chick know?" Rolling his eyes, Xuefan walked away, his eyes glazing with grief as he shook his head. The girl was furious at the taunt, but then thought about it another way. Xuefan was erratic in his affairs, switching tunes at the drop of a hat, making him mysterious in her eyes. That he had secrets. The girl did not enter her room and walked behind the house. The moon hung in the sky above the sea of stars, bringing light to the night. In the backyard, Du Santon sat at a stone table, playing with a wooden toy, looking rather cute. He might be 3 centuries old, but his puerile nature never changed, especially the last few days. Having Xuefan prioritize leisure activities in the city over work, he felt paternal love after ages. This brought out the child he buried inside, whining to Xuefan to get him some nice toys. He was now having the time of his life, until a girl popped up behind him. Du Santon frowned, but faked oblivion as he played. Xuefan kept telling him to play dumb and act like a wee child. "Du Santon, was it?" The girl showed the child a bright smile, looking at his toy. "Wow, how pretty! Did your dad get it for you?" Eyeing her, Du Santon was vague. "Get on with it, or sleep it off." "Ugh." The girl froze at such hostility, her face twitching hard. Why is he so mean? Wait, it's not the child's fault, but who he lived with, that guy's bad influence. I must hold it in. Smashing down the anger, the girl showed a kind face as she said, Santong, you shouldn't talk like that to me. It isn't nice. Who in hell would be nice to a broad that tried to kill the both of us? Gu Santong bit back. She almost spat blood in anger, her body shuddering. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. These two's words are so biting, always antagonistic, and it's pissing me off. That's not the problem here, since all is that guy's fault, not the child. I must stay strong. The girl's face twitched like no tomorrow, showing a look worse than crying. Child, can't you use kinder words? I just wanted to ask you. Out with it already! Gu Santong snapped outraged. The girl gnashed her teeth. Ha ha ha, child, you sure are feisty. Then I'll be frank. Did your dad really abandon your mom? Gu Santong shook, then paused from playing. He then nodded, his reply cold. Yes. The girl looked disappointed, the outcome out of her presumption. Do you like your mother? Yes. Don't you hate your dad for what he did? No. Why? The girl was stunned. Gu Santong went silent as he stared at the toy in his hand. He sighed. If Dad had stayed with Mom, she would have died. What do you think he should have done? What? The girl stood speechless. Young Sanzi, are you playing there? You're supposed to be in bed at this hour. Xuefan's shout came from afar. Gu Santong ignored the girl and went to Xuefan's room. Dad's calling me. I need to go. Gu Santong's young appearance that contrasted with the upright stance left the girl in stunned silence. The son resembles the father, but not to the extreme. It looks like he isn't as cruel as he lets on. Meanwhile, Gu Santong got in the room to find Xuefan sitting at a table, giving him an annoyed and sad look. What are you doing telling her so much? I just don't want her to curse you every time you meet. What's the problem? I'm no saint either, and I've been cursed more than I can count. But I don't want to hear anyone curse my dad. Gu Santong climbed on the bed with a bored look. I used to smash any that curse you, but since you don't want me to fight, I want to not hear people cursing my dad. Xuefan gave him a long look and nodded, son. The next morning, Xuefan and Gu Santong woke up refreshed from cultivating, welcoming the coming of a new day. Gu Santong smiled. Dad, the broad is back. Are we still toying with her? Of course, the more carefree we are the better. The real fish has yet to bite, ha ha ha. Xuefan nodded. Gu Santong cheered in excitement, showing out to be the child he was. Xuefan nodded, enjoying this rare moment of fatherhood, but the girl's gentle figure suddenly popped in his face. Xuefan asked, What are you doing? Me and young Sanzi are going out. Great, now take me with you. The girl gave a bright smile. Xuefan furrowed his brow. Why? Yeah, my dad and I are having fun, so why bring you along, to be a stick in the mud? Gu Santong shunned her, making his position clear as day. She wiggled her cute nose, made a pout at the kid, then turned to Xuefan to impose. Who's to say you won't report me once you go out? That's why I have to keep an eye on you. Squinting, Xuefan paused before showing a wide smile. Fine, since Miss wants to, then come along. As long as you don't misunderstand. Misunderstand what? The girl was curious, but Xuefan's reply was a shifty grin. An hour later. Oh, Sir Gu, you brought your son to play again. What a great father you are, spending these days with your son. And now you even brought the madam. My sir's madam is a world beauty. No wonder she has been cooped up at home for so long, ha ha ha. The trio walked down the street with many shouts aimed at them. Xuefan just replied with a smile and nod. The girl was blushing harder than a tomato. She now realized what he meant and grumbled. Why aren't you saying anything? I'm not your wife, but cousin. There's no point talking to these chatterboxes. They'll say whatever they want anyway. And I don't want to talk to some sellers either. Xuefan grinned, his eyes always scanning his surroundings. By his calculations, the girl had been hiding the past days, making it hard for her friends to find her. Now that she walks in broad daylight, they should get in touch. One of the reasons why he accepted to take her along, as bait. Stop! Who are you people? A patrol came by and barred their way. The girl tensed, ready to bolt, but Xuefan held her, smiling. Fan did the talking. We're the Gu family from a nearby house. Taking a jade slip, the man read it and waved them off. Oh, the new Gu family, Gu Yifan, Gu Santong and Gu Qingyan. You're free to go. The patrol resumed their duty. The girl was stunned. They let us go that easy? Fan easily guessed her thoughts. Did you forget we got registered a few days back? That jade slip has our portraits and details. In this fine cloud city we are a family of 3. Then what have I been doing these days, skulking around like a scared mouse? The girl was stumped. Fan shrugged. Yeah, why did you run? That's what's called guilty looking. Shifty. Homeless. The father and son enjoyed teasing the hell out of the blushing girl. None of them noticed a pair of eyes watched from a dark corner. Chapter 859, Relative Invasion. Chapter 859, Relative Invasion. Proofreader Papatonks. Dad, I want this and that. Oh, this as well. In the noisy street, the trio strolled through the shops, like one big happy family. Gu Santong, like any child, would jump around at anything that caught his attention, which was everything. Fan spoiled him like a true rich guy, forking out spirit stones without a twitch, and throwing them to the shopkeeper with an attitude. I'll take it all, ha ha ha. Thank you, sir. Thank you. The shopkeepers were overjoyed seeing their profits soar. Gu Santong was having the time of his life with this new batch of toys. The two's happiness was infectious, as it finally got through the girl, making her smile. Candy figurines! Come and enjoy candy figurines! The shouts had Gu Santong turn around with sparkling eyes as he saw an old man and his stall. Dad, what is that? All looks and no substance. You can just ignore it. Fan spoke, but the sweets were all that were reflecting in Gu Santong's childish eyes. The girl lit up and smiled. Young Sanzi, I'll buy you some, all right? Gu Santong grumbled, then looked at Fan for permission. Ha ha ha, the girl's a freeloader, so getting something out of her is natural. Fan scratched his nose and teased. Young Sanzi, go all out and get what you want. Fleece her down to the last stone. Gu Santong bobbed his head in glee, then looked around for his targets, wanting not just the candy but heaps of other stuff. He showed a brilliant smile, extending his cute hand at the girl. The girl's face twitched and glared at Fan. I just knew you're a bad influence on the child. You're not buying? You liar! Fan twisted his head away, grinning inside. Gu Santong pouted and complained the kid sure knew how to use his adorable puppy eyes to melt her resistance, and so she nodded with a smile. Don't worry, young Sanzi, I'll buy it all, ha ha ha. She went to the candy cellar, but not before glaring at Fan and making faces. It was hard to tell if she was being cute like Gu Santong or plain angry. Fan held Gu Santong's hand as they looked around, enjoying themselves. How much for a candy? Whoosh. But then a shadow fell on her, holding her mouth and taking her away. He took but a second to vanish from the crowd. Not even the people near noticed the thing. The seller looked ahead curiously. Didn't someone call me just now? Am I hearing things? Strange. The seller got over it fast, returning to shouting his wares. Woo. In a dark and desolate corner, the girl struggled in fear under the attacker's hand, but the hand clamped down like an iron vice. Not letting a sound escape, she panicked, wanting to unleash her power to break free. There was no point playing now, not when the attacker had to be from the Flying Cloud Manor. Yenner, it's me! The attacker spoke hastily before she did anything rash. Halting, the girl stopped her resistance at the voice. She instead turned a shocked look at the handsome guy that just let her go. You're alive, cousin! The father and son were enjoying themselves, but when they looked back, they found the girl gone. Where's the girl gone to? Gu Santong asked Fan. Did we scare her off from asking for so many things from her? Fan staggered and shook his head. All those things you asked for are barely a few spirit stones, not to mention she's someone important in the eastern lands with her high cultivation. Scaring her off? And where would she be staying if she did? Oh right, the past 10 days were spent homeless and in suffering. She doesn't have the nerve to wander around town alone. Gu Santong pondered, then cried. Did the guards take her? Fan shook his head. Flying Cloud Manor is the leader here. Why would they resort to subterfuge when they could just waltz in and grab her? And she came from our place too. If they got her, we'd be in for it as well. I bet this is the hand of her friends. Juefan smiled at Gu Santon's lost look. With her walking in broad daylight all casual, her friends must be stunned and wanted to take her for answers. Gu Santong showed a vague smile. Dad, this time, we hooked a big fish. Yeah, but that will put an end to our vacation. Juefan smiled. Young Sanzi, this may be our last day having fun, so let's make the most of it. I'll take you anywhere you want to go. I heard there's a street packed with food stalls 100 miles east of the town. Let's go eat our fill. Brat, you only think with your stomach. Food first and then the rest, hee hee hee. Juefan and his son walked to their target, having everything under control, enjoying their last day of leisure. Only in the dead of night, with the moon high above them, did they return home. But what welcomed them was a hand grabbing each of their mouths. The door was quickly closed, and the soul harmony experts took them into the house. Gu Santong tensed in shock, about to fight back, but Juefan looked at him to calm down. The two only put a token of resistance as they got taken, though they had to do their acting to perfection, trying their best to scream, looking red from their efforts. Finally, the two were taken to the parlor, where two overbearing experts sat. A middle-aged man took the main seat, with grizzled temples, and sporting a genial face. He was a Genesis stage expert. Juefan knew then and there he hooked a big one. The two men saw the owners of the house were here and struggling. He shouted, "Make one peep and you're dead." Juefan shuddered in fake fear, nodding his head. "We're the guests here. That's no way to treat a host. And there's a child present as well." The middle-aged man frowned and waved his hand. "Release them. Is this how the name we nurtured for 10,000 years is going to be ruined?" "Yes, clan head." The two bowed and withdrew, leaving Juefan and his son. The middle-aged man smiled, but Juefan cried out in panic first. "Sirs, you got the wrong guy. I just came from the distant western lands. I don't even know the former owner of this place. Don't take your revenge on me, I'm innocent." "Ha ha ha, little brother, you misunderstand. We didn't come for revenge." The middle-aged man smiled. Juefan shouted again. "Did you come to rob then?" "Oh God, I heard Flying Cloud City's security was solid. How did it come to this?" The middle-aged man's face twitched. "Robbery? Revenge would be better." "Little brother, listen to me, Big brother, sir, you can see that I'm a meager radiant stage cultivator, not worth anything in Flying Cloud City. I only have my son with me and nothing of value to you. I know I bought a former Flying Cloud Manor guard's house, but I'm not rich. I'm actually dirt poor." Juefan kept cutting the man's explanation, crying and whining. Chapter 860, Best Clan in Eastern Lands. Chapter 860, Best Clan in Eastern Lands. Proofreader Papatonks. Eyes twitching, the man looked at himself, then at the rows of men on either side. "Tell me, do we look like robbers?" The people shook their heads with a genial smile. "Clan head, don't listen to this civilian's nonsense. What does a radiant stage cultivator know? Yeah, clan head, just ignore him. Sir's brilliant martial renown is above thievery. He's just scared to death and babbles on." Yeah? Indeed. They all agreed, looking at Juefan in disdain and disregard. "You don't have to say that." The middle-aged man shook his hand, turning to Juefan. "By barging into this man's home, we invite suspicion of being less than we are. This is excusable. But we are righteous men, forced by circumstances to resort to such debased methods, making us look like killers and criminals. How are we any different then from Shangguan Feiyan that betrayed our clan, our greatest shame? Clan head is wise." They all stood and bowed to the middle-aged man. The man nodded and smiled. "Little brother, to be honest, we've barged into your peaceful abode from lack of choice. I hope you could let us seek refuge for a few days. I would be most grateful." The middle-aged man stood up and bowed a little to Juefan. Juefan nodded inwardly. Regardless of methods, he knows how to win someone over, fishing for compliments while also being very wise and worthy of respect. In any case, quite remarkable for a leader. As for the rest. Glancing at the extras, Xuefan scrunched his nose, waving his hands like a victim. Big brother, you already have your blade on our necks. I have no choice but to give you shelter, even drag me through the latrine if you want to. The middle-aged man burst out, and the rest laughed. Little brother, no need to be so tense. We'll be gone soon. We're not here to hurt you, just borrowing. Who would believe that? Any one of you is stronger than me and can kill me with your thumb. Xuefan complained. Big brother, where do you come from? You want to know who we are? Someone shouted at Xuefan's question, scaring him back and hugging young Sanzi close, glaring at the speaker. The middle-aged man smiled. There's no point in hiding it. We're from the Eastern Lands. Eastern Lands? Xuefan pondered, then sighed. When I was hunted down in the Western Lands, I thought of going through the central area to flee to Eastern Lands, but I'm glad I didn't. It seems Eastern Lands isn't any better than Western Lands for all you experts to resort to this. Eastern Lands must be in dire straits. The middle-aged man almost spat blood, bearing a crestfallen look. Little brother, after all I've said, you still see us as robbers? How could I? Xuefan panicked. How could I see heroes like yourselves as mere robbers? You're temporary guests, borrowing and taking for now. If this becomes permanent, I won't mind it either. The middle-aged man's face sunk, holding his head and sighed. This great and known clan head was now seen by a little guy as nothing more than a murderer and thief. If Eastern Lands heard it, all the sects would laugh shortly after. Bright laughter echoed, followed by a familiar girl. Father, I told you not to see him. He's a petty guy with a nasty tongue, completely opposite of your righteous character. Look at you, a Genesis stage expert angered to the extreme by mere words. Why is that? Ha ha ha. Xuefan looked to see the mystery girl from before, entering with a handsome youth behind her staring at them with sharp eyes. He was young and already in the soul harmony stage. He'd be a worthy candidate for the title of the best if this was the Western Lands. Uncle! The guy bowed before the middle-aged man, ignoring Xuefan as he returned behind the girl. The middle-aged man chuckled, turning to Xuefan. Do you know my daughter, little brother? Xuefan bobbed his head with a lost look. I heard she's your cousin. With a sinister smile, the middle-aged man laughed. Since I'm her father, that makes me your uncle. And uncle here came to visit his kin, not rob. Is this easier to accept? Ha ha ha. Ugh. Xuefan gave him a long look, then chuckled inwardly. This guy is a man of principles, but not pedantic, looking to justify himself. First you take our house and now you write it off as a family visit. How amusing. Big brother. It's uncle. Sighing, Xuefan put on a strained face as the middle-aged man tried to become Xuefan's senior. Xuefan rolled his eyes and returned to the main topic. Us two come from Western Lands and only found the girl wounded just as we bought the house. I'm an alchemist and I saved your daughter's life. In the end, when the guards came to search us, your daughter threatened me to bluff my way out, even using my Gu name. It's dangerous enough to hold one person, but now, will all of you unknown people in my house, if you're found. I understand your concern. The middle-aged man waved with a stern face. Little brother, I know everything from Yennefer. As a father, I'm most grateful for sheltering her and saving her life. But our operation has countless lives in Eastern Lands at stake. Success is a must. While some decisions are not to my liking, I still have to make them. We must take your house. Because we can't find any better place to stay. You know as well how tight security has become. Because of you, Yennefer is now a member of this household. Whether you like it or not, she is above suspicion. Xuefan choked. Are you saying you'll silence us? That's not it at all. I just hope you will work with us and not force us to resort to such vile acts. The middle-aged man sighed. We won't do anything to you, just keep you here at most. Once our business is done, we'll be out of your hair. But if you wish to work with us, it will make our interactions easier. Since you're my nephew, right? Ha ha ha. Xuefan hesitated as he looked at Gu Santong, considering his child's safety first. But how can I believe you won't hurt us? With the name of the famed Shangguan clan. The middle-aged man's eyes shone. Fan cried out. Shangguan clan? The same best clan in Eastern lands? Yes, I am Shangguan clan's clan head, Shangguan Feixiong. The middle-aged man declared, then pointed at the girl in youth. She is my daughter, Shangguan Qingyan, and my nephew, Shangguan Yulin. Everyone else is a venerable or elder of the Shangguan clan. Shaking, Fan could hardly believe the best clan of Eastern lands' entire experts were here en masse. That means that Shangguan Feiyun, one of the 9 sword kings, is your younger brother. Shangguan Feixiong gnashed his teeth. But ever since he betrayed Eastern lands, casting his lot with invincible sword, I no longer have a brother. We came here to take back the Eastern lands' treasure he stole. Little brother, I hope, on account of the alliance between the 4 areas, that you'd help hide us. Fan's heart sank, looking into Shangguan Feixiong's wise eyes, and nodded. Don't worry, uncle, we're all on the same side. I will definitely help the Shangguan clan succeed. Wait, what? His heroic valor got Shangguan Feixiong to nod in reflex. But then he cried out, startled. What did you call me? Fan scratched his nose with a chuckle. Uncle, didn't you see yourself as such? Did you forget already? Fan patted Gu Santong's head proudly. Young Sanzi, we're hailing for a renowned clan. Once we return with Uncle to Eastern lands, none shall pick on us. We'll see if they dare lay a finger on us after uttering the name Shangguan. We're no longer vagrants, ha ha ha. Yeah, let's also go slaughter Western lands later, kill all our pursuers. Gu Santong bobbed his cute head, bearing a nasty smirk. Everyone else looked on, speechless, for crying out loud. One moment they were scared like mice, and now they have no shame with power behind them. Chapter 861, Opportune Nephew. Chapter 861, Opportune Nephew. Proofreader Papatonks. Everyone looked dumbstruck at the crass father-son pair. What's wrong with these two? They have yet to come from old money and power, yet they're acting more obnoxiously than a clan with a deep heritage. What, drop the Shangguan clan's name around so no one will pick on you? I bet you're planning the opposite, to use the name to pick on people. We came from the renowned Shangguan clan in the Eastern lands, but we're educated and know honor. We definitely won't let some disrespectful guys like you ruin our good name. Everyone turned to Shangguan Feixiong, clan head. You started it, now finish it. Shangguan Feixiong shook his head, his face twitching. There was no way he would just accept someone as his nephew. He only used it as a leverage to become friends. But how was he to know there was such a brazen guy in the world, trying to leverage him instead? He's just a punk. I didn't think the owner of the house would be a bastard. As everyone had nothing but contempt for the two, Shangguan Qingyan laughed. Having been around them the past few days, this Missy had gotten quite friendly, or maybe she understood them the best. Seeing them declare this with a straight face, she liked it. Hey, how about you become my real cousin? Fan turned to her and shook his head. Who the hell would? It's that I don't have a choice. Shangguan Feixiong would be pissed if she could hear him. Oh please, for me to accept you as one is the greatest fortune of your lifetime. It's leapfrogging into power, yet you freaking shun it? You're nothing but a moron. Which was a moot point since he didn't know where to begin. He only felt that taking this pair into his fold would be the greatest mistake of his life, but as the leader, his word was gold. Once spoken, he couldn't just take it back. He sighed. Then you will become Shangguan clan's front, blocking the Flying Cloud Manor's investigation. When we all go to Eastern lands, you'll be rewarded for your efforts. Yes, uncle. With a genial smile, Fan was open in his attempts. Shangguan Feixiong only felt pain instead. He looked from his real nephew, showing valor and attitude, then at the new one. With a shrewd gaze and wretched looking, he'd better brace himself for when he returned home for a world of humiliation. Sighing, Shangguan Feixiong waved his hand, tired like never before. Since we're now in understanding, you are dismissed. Shangguan Feixiong stood and walked towards the backyard. Uncle, let me get you a nice room. Fan skipped next to him, like the most obvious toad there was, beaming. Ha ha ha, allow your nephew to lead you. No, we already got our rooms. You just have to play your part. Shangguan Feixiong shunned him. Zhuofan just didn't know when to quit. How can I? I have to do my duty for the family. Screw your duty. That was just a blunder of mine. Rolling his eyes, Shangguan Feixiong wanted to push Zhuofan away, but Zhuofan stuck with him with his nauseatingly sweet flatteries. It only vexed the clan head more. Bam! With a sudden sound, Zhuofan was suddenly pushed back hard. Looking up, he found the genuine cousin there. Shangguan Yulin gave him a cold gaze, then took Shangguan Feixiong's arm and left. This time he didn't refuse. The rest shrugged at the event, mocking Zhuofan as they left. It just so happened that some of the mockery reached the duo's ears. Humph, a social climber who doesn't know when to quit. Shangguan clan will be shamed now, having these thugs. Exactly, but what can you do? They just got lucky to meet us when we need them, ha ha ha. The name of Shangguan clan is enough for these fools for several lifetimes. Gu Santong clenched his fists, but Zhuofan pulled him back. Young Sanzi, now I'm your real aunt, hi hi hi. Shangguan Qingyan skipped over with glee, holding young Sanzi's face with a smile. Young Sanzi looked at her with a cold gaze and slapped her hands away. You're no aunt of mine! Gu Santong gave her the cold shoulder as he left Zhuofan side and side. Invincible Scamp had never been so humiliated in his life. It's all for the sake of the mission. Maybe I should have just left him with Kunping. He's too young and Kunping won't touch him yet. There, at least he's king. I shouldn't make choices for young Sanzi, whether good or wrong. Shangguan Qingyan looked stunned. What's with young Sanzi? Did I say something? It's not you. You know kids so volatile. Don't mind it. Zhuofan went after Gu Santong. I'll look after him. See you. Seeing them go, Shangguan Qingyan looked concerned. A tall man loomed from behind, Shangguan Yulin, smiling at her lost look. Cousin, what are you looking at? I was just wondering why young Sanzi looked so annoyed. Annoyed? Ha ha ha, for a pair of greedy people, getting into Shangguan clan should be a moment of celebration. What's there to be annoyed about? Shangguan Yulin sneered. Shangguan Qingyan glared at him. What do you know? They aren't like that. No? They just acted like brazen and obnoxious people. Anyone could see it. Why is it only you taking their side? You don't know anything. Shangguan Qingyan flicked her head away in annoyance. I've been around them for the past days and they're kind and cherish one another, and not power-hungry people. If they were, they'd long since reported me to Flying Cloud Manor. That's because they were weak, afraid you'd kill them. No, they were never afraid or tense around me. In fact, they always had biting remarks, pissing me off. Shangguan Qingyan was firm. They have their own problems. The jeers and harsh tones are only a front. Don't misunderstand them. Cousin, why do you always side with others? They're no others. Haven't you heard Dad calling Sir Gu nephew? That's just a shameless punk trying to squeeze his way into the clan. Uncle is a man of virtue, not for someone like that thug to get close to. I told you, don't judge a book by its cover. Shangguan Qingyan glared and left. Shangguan Yulin's eyes flashed with anger, his fists clenched. I'll deal with you soon, you damn bastards. Just you wait. Zhuofan was back in his room and saw Gu Santong on the bed with sad look as he lay on the pillow. Zhuofan patted his back and chuckled. What's wrong, brat? Angry? Ha ha ha, think about it. They mock us for our weakness. It's this weakness that will drop their guard and earn their trust. That when we use them to punch through, we're deceiving them. We should be the one laughing at them. Those morons, ha ha ha. Gu Santong began after a long pause. We're being watched by 5 soul harmony experts not 100 meters away. I know. We're outsiders, so of course they won't believe us. They fear we'll snitch. But they're wrong. Don't you think having 5 of them watching us is kind of small? Zhuofan showed a devious grin, winking at Gu Santong. Gu Santong smiled at last. Yeah, I can deal with 5 in one punch. Meanwhile, Shangguan Feixiong entered into a dark room. 3 elders were already here, sitting on the bed with eyes closed. Feixiong, what is it? One spoke, bowing. Shangguan Feixiong's tone was respectful. Venerables, the owner of the house is a nobody. He even has an 8-year-old son. We can relax for now and deal with Feiyun. Good, we'll use this foothold to make a second ambush. One elder shouted. This time, we will take the divine weapon back to Eastern lands. Chapter 862, Just Wait. Chapter 862, Just Wait. Proofreader Papatonks. Morning, seniors, ha ha ha. Bright and early, Juefan and young Sanzi were heading towards the door and were startled to see someone already there. But that didn't stop him from greeting with a smile. The exit had guards in place, soul harmony experts with mighty auras glancing over. The two men put their hand out, blocking the way. Juefan looked at them puzzled as they mocked. Sorry, Sir Gu, you're the clan head's nephew. For your safety, it's best you stay inside. Oh, I see, now I'm someone of value, ha ha ha. Juefan gave a strained laugh. You're taking our safety very seriously, I see. Hee hee hee, why thank you. Bobbing his face with a bright smile, Juefan took young Sanzi back. Not thinking of leaving again, the men held nothing but disdain for the two. Gu Santong looked bleak, gnashing his teeth. Damn these bastards, they take our home and now are locking us in. Easy now, young Sanzi. Didn't I tell you already? Yesterday was going to be our last day of leisure. With a sinister smile, Juefan continued. Which works best for us. They want to keep us here, so we'll use this to see their every move. Once they act and fight with the Flying Cloud Manor, we'll be sure to reap the rewards, completing our mission. Gu Santong nodded, but that didn't mean he liked it. With these cowards, who knows how long we'll be stuck here before that happens. Ha ha ha, these blokes won't last long. The more they wait, the more dangerous it gets. They're more desperate than us to finish and go home. Rubbing Gu Santong's head, Juefan's eyes shone, feeling in complete control of everything. All we have to do now is just wait. Gu Santong sighed a nod. Let's go back to our cell. Not like I haven't done it in Tianyu. Did you come from outside? The two were startled by a bright voice. Turning around, they saw the young miss. First came her unique fragrance, then Shangguan Qingyan's graceful figure. Seeing Gu Santong, she went for a hug, pinching his cheeks. Young Sanzi, did you miss Auntie last night? Juefan rolled his eyes. Hey lady, it's only been a night, not years. Not even your relatives will miss you. And you're not close to young Sanzi anyway. Who'd ever miss you? Gu Santong was of the same mind, judging by that cold look. Who'd ever miss you? Ugh. That one went straight to her heart as Shangguan Qingyan showed a bitter smile. Young Sanzi, you're still so stubborn. Let go of me. I'm going back to sleep. Gu Santong huffed, looking elsewhere. Shangguan Qingyan was stumped. Why is he so cold to me, and angry? Who is he angry at? Glancing at Juefan, he chuckled. Don't mind it, he's just being a brat. I promised to take him out to play, but you know how I'm now a new man, with the clan worried for my safety. So I have to stay inside for now, and the child. They're holding you here? Shangguan Qingyan exploded. This is your home and we're just guests. How can they do this? That's just crossing the line. Humph, Shangguan clan isn't so shameless. Young Sanzi, don't worry, Auntie here will take you out. Shangguan Qingyan carried Gu Santong as she marched for the door. A woman on a crusade. Juefan smirked, enjoying the show that followed. Young miss! The two men bowed before Shangguan Qingyan. Unlike how they treated Juefan, Shangguan Qingyan barked. What do you think you're doing? This is the Gu household, so why are you stopping the two of them? Are you settling in the role of robbers, taking another's home? Have you forgotten all the values Shangguan clan stands for? Young miss, please. The two bowed again, feeling conflicted. It's clan head's order. We're just the messengers. Shangguan Qingyan's brow shook. Dad? No way. He clearly said to look after the father and son, to be friendly. He even sees him as nephew. Yeah, it must be that clan head was worried for his new nephew that he didn't want him to go out. The town isn't safe, bullshit. Shangguan Qingyan cut them off with her outbursts. You can't lie to me. They have nothing to do with the Shangguan clan. No one's after them in Flying Cloud City. You're just trapping them here. Humph, I brought you all here and this is what you do. It is my duty to hold the true owner of this house's side. Now shove off. I'm taking young Sanzi and Sir Shua for a walk. Frowning, the two were very conflicted. Indecisive Zhuafan looked from the side. He wanted Shangguan clan to pave his way, but it wasn't bad making waves and stirring things up either, lest some guy from the Shangguan clan wanted to push him around. If he didn't stand out, he'd suffer. This noise came at the best time, showing everyone Shangguan clan's young miss was on their side and scaring off some bored chaps looking for trouble. Zhuafan simply watched the show unfold with a hidden smile. As the situation became tense, a shout came. Cousin, uncle is calling you. The Gu father and son can come as well. The two men sighed. The clan head finally asked for young miss. It was getting a bit too tense for them, having to choose between duty and respect. I'll go see Dad and then we'll go out. Glaring at them, Shangguan Qinyan hugged Gu Santong as she went. Sir Gu, we'll explain it all to Dad. Zhuafan nodded, walking behind her. Bam! Something blocked his view then, knocking into it and stumbling 5 steps back. It was Shangguan Yulin. Zhuafan sneered inside. Here it comes, making it hard on me. First last night, and now today. He's clearly looking for trouble. Shangguan Qian was enraged, holding Gu Santong as she went, while oblivious to Zhuafan's predicament. Shangguan Yulin watched her go, then mocked Zhuafan. Stay away from young miss. Wretched social climbers like you two won't get anywhere. Shangguan Yulin left. After that, Zhuafan raised an eyebrow, staring hard at him, then he shook his head. Such are clansmen, empty of talent yet full of conceit and petty. While you're looking after the Shangguan clan's name, I have a way bigger goal in mind. Zhuafan shook his head before going as well. People gathered into the parlor, where Shangguan Qinyan and Shangguan Feixiong were already present. Seeing her dad, Shangguan Qinyan started whining. Ha ha ha, alright, I was only thinking of the two's safety. I'll make sure to berate those insensible men. Shangguan Feixiong was a leader after all, easily handling this trifle. Then he turned to Zhuafan. Yifan, you're part of the Shangguan clan now and must shoulder the burden. None of us can walk outside and the task of gathering information falls to you. Qinyan Yulin, you'll provide assistance in the light and in shadows. Shangguan Qinyan lit up. Then young Sanzi can go outside? Of course. Shangguan Feixiong smiled. I said that they misunderstood my intention. I never wanted to hold the two here. Great. Shangguan Qinyan cheered, hugging young Sanzi close. Young Sanzi was also smiling, only Zhuafan had a calculative look.